Chapter 313. Yang Dingtian. No matter if you win or lose, I will do everything in my power to protect your life and martial arts. Elder Wuyan said to Yang Dingtian. So no matter what the result of this battle is, don't risk your life. Yang Dingtian nodded and said, Yes, Grandma. Yinyan desperately wanted to go with you. But in order not to affect your performance in the battle, I didn't let her go. I let her wait for you here. Anyway, if you lose, she will definitely not leave alone. She will stay with you in the Sea of Hades. Elder Wuyan said. In my eyes, you have already won by breaking through to the martial venerable level. You are already better than Songyu. You don't need to prove anything in this battle. Elder Wuyan had always been very cool. She had always been indifferent to Yang Dingtian. Perhaps it was because she loved him, or perhaps she had already accepted Yang Dingtian in her heart. At this time, she was very concerned about Yang Dingtian, although it was not as good as her feelings for Yin Yan. I understand, Grandma. Yang Dingtian looked at Yin Yan. At this time, her beautiful eyes were full of worry and fear. But she still forced a smile at Yang Dingtian. In fact, she really wanted to go with Yang Dingtian, but Grandma said that it might affect Yang Dingtian's performance in the battle. So even if she wanted to go with him, she did not dare to say it. Grandma, let Yin Yan go with me. Anyway, even if I lose face, it will not affect my image in her heart. She will not fall in love with someone else. Yang Dingtian said with a smile. He knew very well how torturous this kind of waiting was for Yin Yan. No, even if you turn around and run away, or even kneel on the ground and beg for mercy, you will still be the most handsome. I will still love you, Yin Yan blurted out. Then, she rushed towards Yang Dingtian, hugged Yang Dingtian's neck, and kissed him hard on the lips. Wuxian Granny shook her head helplessly and waved her hand. Go, go. Yang Dingtian and Yin Yan rode to the golden beach. Baby, I asked you to spread the news of my battle with Songyu these few days. Did you spread it out? Yang Dingtian asked. The news has spread. All the beautiful female disciples in the Sea of Hades know about it. They will probably come to watch the battle. Yin Yan said. Did you make it clear to them that only beautiful female disciples are allowed to watch the battle? Not a single male disciple is allowed to come. Yang Dingtian asked. Don't worry, I've already said it clearly. Don't let any stinky men come over. Yin Yan said. Husband, what do you mean by this? Do you want all the beautiful women in the Sea of Hades to see your heroic appearance, so that they will fall in love with you at first sight? Are you so sure about this battle? Are you not afraid of losing face in front of so many beautiful women after losing? Of course not. Yang Dingtian said. I let so many beautiful women watch to put pressure on Songyu, lest he kill me after I lose. Ah. Yin Yan opened her small mouth in disbelief. Was this still her honorable husband? Husband, don't tell me you have no confidence in this battle. Yin Yan said. And let so many beautiful women watch, how can you make Songyu show mercy? Of course I don't have the confidence to win. Songyu is too powerful. Your husband can't beat him, Yang Dingtian said. As for the reason why I let so many beautiful women watch, let me ask you, is Songyu a sanctimonious hypocrite? Yes, Yin Yan said. There is no man who can pretend better than him. Then does he care about his image very much? Yang Dingtian said. Especially in front of so many beautiful women. Yes, this person would rather have poise than his life. Yin Yan said. So every day he has to comb his hair meticulously and take care of his clothes meticulously. He is more vain than us women. Yes, there are so many beautiful women watching. Not only does he have to beat me, but he also has to fight beautifully. He must use flashy moves and desperately act handsome. This way, his combat strength will be weaker. Yang Dingtian said. Moreover, he has been infatuated with you, right? He thinks that I am not worthy of you at all. So he desperately pursues you. But he also puts on airs and doesn't want to lose face, right? Yes, Yin Yan said. Then, as his rival in love, in order to maintain his poise, even if he beats me he can't kill me. Instead, he has to be merciful. Otherwise, his image in the eyes of others will be completely ruined. Others will say that this Songyu is so shameless. In order to snatch Yin Yan Shimen, he actually killed Yin Yan's husband. Yang Dingtian said. So for his own reputation, Not only can he not kill me, but he can't let me lose in a very embarrassing way. In order to win brilliantly, he has to be very elegant. In terms of temperament, he has to directly kill me. Of course, in order to prevent him from killing me directly, I can only let you mobilize so many beautiful women in the Netherworld Sea to watch. After Yang Dingtian finished his explanation, Yin Yan was directly stunned. After a long time, she looked at Yang Dingtian. Heavens, my beloved man is so shameless. Yang Dingtian smiled faintly. But I like it. Yin Yan said. This way it's not pedantic. Yang Dingtian hugged Yin Yan in his arms. That's right. The reason he fought with Songyu this time was just to leave this place. It wasn't to prove that he was stronger than Songyu. And it wasn't to laughably fight over Yin Yan. So there was no need to create a life and death situation. In this battle, he would obviously use all his strength. But he definitely didn't want to lose his life, even if it was half. His only goal was to win, and then take Yin Yan out. This wasn't a battle of self-esteem with Dongfang Bingling, and this wasn't a battle of the Lord of Cloud Heaven City. It was just to leave the Netherworld Sea. Big brother, I find that every day I spend with you, I love you a little more. Yin Yan gently twisted in Yang Dingtian's arms, and embarrassedly said in a low voice, I know that this isn't the right time, but I'm still very emotional. Also, I have a very perverted thought. What thought? Yang Dingtian asked. I want you to take advantage of me in front of Songyu, and desperately take advantage of me. He always thinks that he's high above you, that you're not worthy of me, and that only he is worthy of me. Then, I won't even glance at him, but I'll let you take advantage of me as you please, and I'll even look like I'm enjoying it. I guarantee that he'll be so angry that he'll vomit blood. Yin Yan's voice became even lower, and her beautiful eyes were almost flowing with tears. Yang Dingtian was shocked. He was once again amazed by the thoughts of a beautiful girl like Yin Yan. However, it had to be said that Yin Yan's words seemed to ignite a ball of fire in his heart. He fiercely said, If it wasn't for the fact that the time wasn't right, I'd do you right now. When Yang Dingtian and Yin Yan arrived at the Golden Beach, Songyu was still sitting cross-legged on the beach. His hair was meticulous, and his snow-white robe was meticulous. Everything was exactly the same as when Yang Dingtian left 3 days ago. Moreover, he was clearly sitting on the beach, but there wasn't even a speck of sand on his body. Songyu was really a rare handsome man in the world. At this time, dozens of small boats were moored around the beach. There were all kinds of beauties dressed in palace attire standing on them. Under Yin Yan's gossipy invitation, almost all the beautiful young disciples of the Netherworld Sea were invited. Therefore, at first glance, it really looked like a beauty contest. Those female disciples who didn't receive Yin Yan's invitation must be very disappointed, because this meant that they were expelled from the ranks of the young beauties of the Netherworld Sea by Yin Yan. These dozens of beauties of the Netherworld Sea were fat and thin. Some were gentle, some were fierce, some were graceful, and some were plump. There were all kinds of beauties. Being surrounded by so many beauties, the pressure should be great. But Songyu was very cold. He didn't even open his eyes. Even a strand of his hair was not messed up. Moreover, he turned a blind eye to the dozens of intoxicated and admiring gazes of the beauties. Worthy of being an expert, he knew that his state of mind must not be messed up before the battle, so he always had the appearance of an ancient well without ripples. When Yang Dingtian and Yin Yan rowed the boat over, all the beauties' gazes looked at Yang Dingtian. They wanted to know which man had subdued a proud peerless beauty like Yin Yan. One must know that for more than a year, Yin Yan was completely indifferent to Songyu's pursuit. How handsome, how charming, how outstanding Songyu was, they were very clear. Therefore, they had always been very curious about Yin Yan's legendary husband. However, when they saw him, they could only sigh. It was really better to meet him than to hear about him. Although this Yang Dingtian didn't look ugly, he was quite handsome. But it depended on who he was compared to. Compared to a passerby, of course it was a handsome man. But compared to Songyu, he was just a passerby. Purely looking at appearance and demeanor, this Yang Dingtian was completely unworthy of Shimin Yin Yan. With Yang Dingtian's appearance and demeanor, probably some 4th or 5th class castle flower or villa flower was just right for him. Seeing Yang Dingtian's arrival, Song Yu slightly opened his eyes. Seeing Yin Yin with a happy face beside Yang Dingtian, Song Yu's heart suddenly stabbed. His tranquil state of mind suddenly shook, but he quickly calmed down, and there was no expression on his face. This person was very proud. Even if he was passionately in love with Yin Yin, his pursuit was very cool, and he was very particular about demeanor. "Husband, I'm here to look at you," Yin Yin said. Then her small hand stroked Yang Dingtian's face, and gently kissed him on the cheek. Finally, the already calm Song Yu's facial muscles twitched. In his heart, Yin Yin was only forced to marry Yang Dingtian by her father's order. In his heart, he had no feelings for Yang Dingtian. At this time, Yang Dingtian's intimate action was undoubtedly a fierce stab in his heart. "Well, then I'm going," Yang Dingtian said. "Well, no matter if I win or lose, when we go back, I'll wash myself clean and serve you well," Yin Yin said tenderly. Then her small hand swept Yang Dingtian's chest in a very secretive manner. After Song Yu saw it, it was as if a bomb directly exploded in his brain and heart. This was the goddess he was bitterly pursuing? She wasn't willing to say a word to him. She wasn't willing to let him touch half a finger. She wasn't even willing to let him see her neck. Now she actually did such a shameless action in front of Yang Dingtian. This Yang Dingtian, no matter if it was his background, appearance, cultivation, or demeanor compared to him, the difference was like heaven and earth. But Yin Yin, this peerless beauty, didn't even look at him, but secretly acted so shamelessly towards Yang Dingtian in front of everyone so enviable. Before, when Yin Yin treated him coldly, Song Yu thought it was because she was reserved. But now, this peerless beauty didn't have the slightest bit of reservation. She was even more wanton than a fox spirit. And this Yin Yin's image in Song Yu's heart didn't decrease at all. Instead, it became even more attractive, even more moving. This was clearly the combination of pure as ice and pure as jade, and a fox spirit. In everyone's heart, there was a fox spirit plot, hoping that his wife was unparalleled beauty. In front of other men, she was completely a pure saintess. If someone looked at her, she would pull out her sword and fight. But in front of her man, she was like a prostitute, doing all kinds of shameless things. This kind of woman was completely a man's dream. Now this woman was in front of him, Song Yu. It was just that her man was not him. Her fox spirit side only bloomed in front of other people. Song Yu clearly knew that he shouldn't. At this time, he was really jealous until he wanted to vomit blood. At this time, Yang Dingtian's heart was touched and speechless. Although Yin Yin was very mischievous, such a bold action was definitely not done in public. But in order to provoke Song Yu, in order to make his state of mind uneasy, she actually did such a bold action, dropping all her moral integrity cleanly. But it was also precisely because of this that Yin Yin became even more like a treasure in Yang Dingtian's heart at this time. Sucking in a deep breath, Yang Dingtian suddenly leaped up and flew towards the golden beach. Song Yu, Yang Dingtian specially came to challenge. Note, brothers begging for a few monthly votes, thanks. Chapter 314. Song Yu tried his best to suppress the crazy jealousy in his heart, and gradually closed his eyes. A few seconds later, he opened his eyes again. His eyes were once again haughty as he looked at Yang Dingtian, who had landed in front of him. Yang Dingtian, originally you didn't have the qualifications to fight with me, but Master wanted to punish your arrogance. And I'm the most useless disciple of Master, so I'll punish you, Song Yu said indifferently. But fighting with you really made me lose face. Even if I win, I'm afraid I'll become the laughing stock of the senior brothers. So, Song Yu slowly pulled out his sword. His sword was like autumn water, crystal clear. And it was something Yang Dingtian had never seen before. Yang Dingtian recognized at a glance that this was a soul sword forged with profound ice-cold jade. And the most important thing was that this was no longer a fledgling sword, but a real soul sword. That's right, it was a real soul sword forged with profound fire, profound ice-cold jade, and a fledgling sword. The difference between a soul sword and a fledgling sword was like heaven and earth. A mere fledgling sword was already so powerful, let alone a soul sword. One had to know that even Dongfang Bingling was only a fledgling sword, and had not been forged into a soul sword. And Song Yu actually had a soul sword. It seemed that having the Netherworld Sea as his backer was indeed amazing. Of course, having a soul sword did not mean that one could refine a sword soul. In fact, it was already considered amazing to have 1 out of 10 soul swords refined into a sword soul. And it was unknown whether the soul sword in Song Yu's hand had profound vein essence and sea spirit crystal. However, even if there was no profound vein essence and sea spirit crystal, a soul sword was still a soul sword. A fledgling sword could not be compared to it. Yang Dingtian could almost conclude that excluding the other young disciples of the Netherworld Sea, among the many young experts in the world, Song Yu should be the first to have a soul sword. Having a soul sword also meant that Song Yu had a profound fire. Yang Dingtian sighed again. Having a good backer was really good. Dongfang Bingling was a descendant of the Yinyang school, yet she had risked her life for a mystic flame. Song Yu, on the other hand, had silently obtained a mystic flame. An otherworldly force like the Netherworld Sea was indeed powerful to the point of making people fearful. Song Yu drew a circle with the soul sword on the beach, a circle with a diameter of about 2 meters. This circle was formed by the blue light, and Song Yu was standing in the middle of this circle. If I fight with you, even if I win, I will be laughed at by others. So no matter what method you use, as long as you can force me out of this circle, it will be your win. You can take Shiman Yinyan and leave. Song Yu indifferently said. It seemed that he was really angry. Yinyan's intimate actions hurt him deeply. Therefore, he wanted to use this method to ruthlessly trample on Yang Dingtian. If you can't even do this, then don't talk big. Don't play to the gallery. Obediently stay in my Netherworld Sea, and be the lowest servant. Song Yu coldly shouted. Immediately, the blue circle began to burn fiercely. Yang Dingtian's face turned cold, and also slowly drew out his youngling sword. At this moment, Cho did not make any concealment. It was completely black like an iron rod. Immediately, the beauties of the Netherworld Sea who were watching the battle could not help but laugh. Yang Dingtian's treasure sword compared to Song Yu's was like heaven and earth. Without any nonsense, Yang Dingtian wielded Cho's youngling sword, and like a gust of wind he charged in. He directly charged into the circle drawn by Song Yu. Kill! A ferocious sword directly slashed towards Song Yu. Without any fanciful moves, it was a solid slash. Song Yu was startled, and then revealed a disdainful sneer. To actually go against his soul sword, he was simply courting death. The only result was that ugly iron rod would be directly cut in half. Seeing Yang Dingtian's ugly sword slashing towards him, Song Yu's right hand lightly swung his sword, and directly met with Yang Dingtian. Bang! A loud sound echoed. A blue ray of light and a red ray of light fiercely burst out, like 2 lightning bolts fiercely streaking across the sky. Yang Dingtian previously repeatedly said that he wanted Yin Yan to find many beauties to watch. Yin Yan also intimately teased Yang Dingtian to provoke Song Yu, as if Yang Dingtian wanted to take advantage of this battle to play tricks. But in reality, when the battle really started, Yang Dingtian chose the collision of iron and blood. The most direct, most rigid, most dangerous and most disadvantageous collision. Without a doubt, Yang Dingtian was also proud. When the battle really started, even if Song Yu was a 6th grade revered martial artist, he was fearless and directly used the collision of iron and blood. PFFF. Yang Dingtian's body fiercely retreated, spitting out a mouthful of blood. He only stopped after retreating a few dozen meters. Yin Yan's beautiful eyes suddenly widened, but she clenched her jade teeth and did not make any sound. In the initial battle, it was obvious that Yang Dingtian was at a disadvantage. However, the one who was shocked was Song Yu herself. Although Song Yu looked disdainful towards Yang Dingtian on the surface, in her heart, she valued him very much. After all, more than a year ago, Yang Dingtian was only a Xian martial artist. A year later, although she was not clear about Yang Dingtian's cultivation, but in her heart, she knew that Yang Dingtian's breakthrough was extremely shocking. Facing such a talented opponent, if she really looked down on him, then she would be completely stupid. But even so, this Yang Dingtian was at most a martial ancestor realm. Facing her move just now, the only result was that his Xian meridians were destroyed, and he would completely lose the ability to fight again. But the current Yang Dingtian had only retreated a few dozen meters and spat out a mouthful of blood. What made Song Yu even more shocked was that the weapon in her hand was a soul sword, and the opponent was holding an ugly iron rod. Of course, she knew that this iron rod was definitely not an ordinary iron rod, and was also a very powerful weapon. But facing her own soul sword, the only outcome was that it would definitely be cut in half and completely destroyed. However, in reality, the iron rod in Yang Dingtian's hand did not have any trace of damage. Of course, the soul sword in Song Yu's hand was also intact. Song Yu let out a light breath and spoke unhurriedly. Yang Dingtian, your strength is truly far beyond my imagination. Yang Dingtian wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and did not reply. But so what? Even if you surprised me, you still don't have the qualifications to be my opponent. You still can't make me leave this circle, not even half a step. Song Yu sneered. Yang Dingtian still did not reply. After slightly adjusting his breathing, the youngling's sword in his hand madly waved, and like lightning, once again rushed into Song Yu's circle. Swish, 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 swish. Yang Dingtian's sword was like lightning, incomparably fast and mystical. Pig-slaying sword art. That's right. It was the #1 sword art in the world, the pig-slaying sword art. Previously, when he fought with Dugufengwu, he also used the pig-slaying sword art, and it was still the most mystical sword art. But his speed was not as fast as Dugufengwu, and his mystic chi was not as strong as the demon woman. Therefore, he was completely in the state of being slaughtered and unable to retaliate. If it wasn't for Dugufengwu suddenly losing all her mystic chi, Yang Dingtian would have been chopped into pieces. Logically speaking, this should be a nightmare-like memory, and it should make Yang Dingtian not dare to engage in close combat and use the pig-slaying sword art, especially when Song Yu was much stronger than Dugufengwu. However, Yang Dingtian had to wake up from where he had a nightmare. He still chose to use the most dangerous combat method, because he wanted to prove that the pig-slaying sword art was still formidable. As long as his cultivation was strong enough, the pig-slaying sword art was still terrifying. In the blink of an eye, Yang Dingtian brandished a few thousand swords. Song Yu was completely enveloped in the mystical sword net. The more he fought, the more appalled Song Yu got. Yang Dingtian's sword art was unprecedentedly formidable and mystical, especially in this world that didn't pay attention to moves. Yang Dingtian's sword art was simply breathtaking. Of course, he could still deal with it. Even though Yang Dingtian's sword art was incisive and mystical, Song Yu's speed was fast enough, and his mystic chi was strong enough. Yang Dingtian's mystical sword art was completely unable to injure Song Yu. But as long as Yang Dingtian was only 2 or 3 levels weaker than Song Yu, when Yang Dingtian used this set of sword art to engage in close combat, it was unknown who would be the victor. At this moment, there was something that Song Yu couldn't understand. What was the meaning of Yang Dingtian's fighting style? This fighting style was the most disadvantageous and dangerous for Yang Dingtian, because in every clash of swords, Yang Dingtian would suffer tremendous damage. In fact, after every 10 moves, Yang Dingtian would vomit blood. Why would Yang Dingtian choose such a foolish fighting style? That's right, Yang Dingtian chose the most foolish fighting style. He seemed to have forgotten that he possessed the 8th grade Devil Flame Saber art and the Mystic Flame. He didn't use any of these trump cards, and he didn't even use the Yin-Yang Qi transformation technique. He was just forcefully enduring Song Yu's attacks. He only had one goal, and that was to test himself. In the most difficult actual combat, he wanted to test how much damage he could endure. Also, in the previous battle with Dugufengwu, he was beaten to a sorry state. He wanted to regain the confidence he had when he was at a disadvantage in this even more difficult battle. He wanted to test how tough his 9 Yang Mystic Meridians, the modified Mystic Meridians from Naga's Purple Mystic Meridians, and the Golden Mystic Chi from the Naga Royalty's Golden Mystic Chi, were after he broke through to the martial revered realm. He wanted to test how tough his Sea of Chi was. If he could withstand Song Yu's attacks in the most disadvantageous situation, then he would have a greater chance of defeating Shiman Ju in the martial contest for the City Lord's position. Therefore, this battle was also a rehearsal for the martial contest for the City Lord's position. Yang Dingtian treated Song Yu as his most dangerous whetstone. Shimanju was very dangerous and sinister, but in terms of cultivation, he should be inferior to Song Yu. If he could withstand Song Yu, then he would have a chance of winning against Shimanju, even if his cultivation was a few levels lower than Shimanju. In the end, Yang Dingtian wasn't disappointed. The modified mystic meridians and the transformed sea of qi from the golden mystic qi were much stronger and tougher than Yang Dingtian imagined. Swish, 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 swish. Yang Dingtian's sword was like a shooting star, completely combining the first, second, and third stages of the pig-slaying sword art. It became the most mysterious, most bizarre, and most terrifying sword art. Immediately, the surrounding female disciples of the Netherworld Sea were mesmerized. Their gazes gradually shifted from Song Yu to Yang Dingtian. Although Yang Dingtian was still in a disadvantageous position at this moment, but the one who took the initiative to attack was Yang Dingtian from beginning to end. Even if he kept on vomiting blood, he kept on attacking with all his might. Moreover, his offensive moves were so powerful and dazzling. Bang! A loud sound echoed. Yang Dingtian's body suddenly bounced back over 100 meters, and then fiercely landed on the ground. He spat out another mouthful of blood, and then wiped it off. Just now, he used the first, second, and third stages of the pig-slaying sword art to the extreme, but he still couldn't injure Song Yu, so there was no need to test it again. Yang Dingtian, your sword art is unfathomable, and it's the best I've ever seen. Song Yu said indifferently. However, there's still no way to injure me at all. I admit that you've made me look at you in a new light, but you've already exhausted your abilities. You have no hope in this battle. Yang Dingtian immediately shook his head and said, No, Song Yu, you're wrong. Just now, I haven't really started yet. I only used you as an opponent to hone myself and see how powerful I am. What's the result? Song Yu asked with a smile. The result is very good, Yang Dingtian said. It made me full of confidence to break through you and for the future Cloud Sky City Lords martial arts contest. Song Yu, now I'm going to start for real. I'll use my trump card to break through your defense and take Yin Yan out of this prison of the Netherworld Sea. Ha 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 ha. Song Yu sneered and said, Yang Dingtian, I've already begun to look at you seriously, but you just made me look down on you. You want to surpass me, dream on. With a fierce roar, a blue flame suddenly soared into the sky. The blazing blue mystic fire completely enveloped Song Yu from top to bottom. Is that so? Then let's try. Yang Dingtian opened his palm. A beautiful red flame suddenly rose into the sky. This was the million-spirit demonic fire. Next was the real fatal battle, the Battle of the Mystic Fire. Chapter 315. Wow, Mystic Fire. Seeing the flame emerging from Yang Dingtian's palm, Song Yu's face trembled. The female disciples of the Nether Sea, who were watching the battle, exclaimed one after another. One must know that even in the Nether Sea, mystic fire was undoubtedly a luxury item. Even Elder Wuyan did not have a real mystic fire. It was just a mixed mystic fire. Therefore, her soul sword still had some impurities in it even now. Similarly, Extermination Duda, as the chief alchemist of the Nether Sea, could not have a real mystic fire. However, this Yang Dingtian actually had a mystic fire. Therefore, all the female disciples of the Nether Sea had their eyes lit up. They looked at Yin Yin with jealousy. A young man who had a mystic fire in this world was no less dazzling than a handsome man who had a jet plane and a yacht worth hundreds of millions of dollars. It was normal for Song Yu to have a mystic fire. He was the beloved disciple of the sect master. However, Yang Dingtian actually had a mystic fire too. You really got a mystic fire, Song Yu said. However, I want to see if your mixed fire can compare to mine. Boom! Immediately, a beautiful blue flame soared into the sky from Song Yu's hand. The absolute blue flame was so beautiful that it made people intoxicated. This flame of mine was condensed from thousands of miles of glaciers for 100 years. It is known as the Icy Heart Heavenly Fire. Song Yu said slowly. Mystic fire is also divided into many levels. Since you want to compete, then watch your mixed fire be ruthlessly stepped on by me. After saying that, the blue flame rose a few meters in an instant, as if igniting Song Yu's whole body. Of course, this was just a performance. Mystic fire would never hurt its master, because it had the same fate as its master. Even if it burned on its master's body, it would not cause any harm. Even if Yang Dingtian had a mystic fire, Song Yu also called it a mixed fire. Mixed fire should actually be called a sub-fire. It was also a mystic fire. However, it was not pure enough. However, for most people in this world, even a sub-fire was also a dream. Many Grandmaster-level powerhouses pursued a sub-fire their whole life, but could not get it. Therefore, in the eyes of practically everyone, there was simply no distinction between inferior flames and mystic flames. They were all called mystic flames. Only Song Yu, this kind of proud son of heaven, would keep on saying that he despised sub-fires as miscellaneous fires. The reason why he thought that Yang Dingtian had obtained a mixed flame was because he felt that Yang Dingtian did not have the ability to obtain a true mystic flame. This was because the real mystic flame bloomed in an extremely harsh environment. With Yang Dingtian's cultivation, it was impossible for him to collect it. In fact, this icy heart heavenly flame was collected mostly because of sect leader Wuxia. Otherwise, Song Yu alone would not be able to obtain it. Of course, some people might ask, the mystic flame was extremely precious to anyone. Why did he not want this icy heart heavenly fire Wu Yu, and instead give it to his disciple? The reason was that Wu Yu had already collected the icy heart heavenly flame 100 years ago. He already possessed this profound flame, so there was no need for him to possess a second one that was exactly the same. Yang Dingtian, even if it's a mixed flame, it's not easy for you to obtain it. If you really want to fight with me, if it hurts your flame, then you won't even be able to find a place to cry. Song Yu said coldly. Mystic flames were all alive. A naked flame fight would undoubtedly hurt the foundation of the mystic flame, and the consequences would indeed be extremely serious. Heh, you don't have to worry about it, Yang Dingtian said. Huff. Then, the ugly sword in his hand suddenly slashed. Boom. Suddenly, everywhere the ugly sword passed, everything was ignited by the mystic flame. The bright red flame hovered in the sky burning. Then it suddenly turned into a ferocious giant dragon. Go! Yang Dingtian's sword suddenly slashed. Suddenly, this mystic flame giant dragon turned into a monstrous raging flame and rushed toward Song Yu. Come! Song Yu sneered. The soul sword in his hand suddenly slashed. A blue mystic flame giant dragon suddenly emerged from his sharp sword, instantly burning the entire sky, turning into 100 meters, and rushed toward Yang Dingtian's red mystic flame giant dragon. Boom! It was like Mars colliding with Earth. Two mystic flame giant dragons, one blue and one red, fiercely collided with each other. With a loud bang, a dazzling light burst out. The surrounding seawater suddenly surged with monstrous waves, directly overturning the small boats of the Netherworld Sea's female disciples. Suddenly, dozens of Netherworld Sea's female disciples floated in the sky together, watching this amazing mystic flame battle, as if intoxicated. This kind of mystic flame battle was extremely rare. Master-level battles were not rare, and even great Grandmaster-level battles could be seen. But a real mystic flame battle was very, very rare. Very, very few people would directly start a mystic flame battle. One could use the mystic flame to attack the enemy quickly, but releasing the mystic flame to fight alone, the risk was too great. One had to know that the mystic flame also had life. Once it was completely released, a great battle between the mystic flame would occur. That was like a master letting out fighting dogs to bite each other. The master could not control the consequences at all. So in an instant, only two mystic flame giant dragons could be seen growing bigger and bigger. They danced wildly in the air, biting and intertwining crazily. At this moment, the only thing the master could do was to continuously transfer mystic chi. As for how the two mystic flames were fighting, the master could not control it anymore. After a short fierce battle, Yang Dingtian's million-spirit demonic flame was already ferocious. It crazily ignited every inch of the surrounding air, making itself stronger. It was crazily biting and tearing apart Song Yu's icy heart, heavenly flame giant dragon. And it did not fall into a disadvantageous position at all. Even if Yang Dingtian's cultivation was much lower than Song Yu's, the million-spirit demonic flames fire dragon was much smaller, not even half the size of the other party. That's right. The mystic flame's energy was completely supplied by the master's mystic qi. The stronger the master's mystic qi, the bigger the mystic flame, and the stronger the mystic flame. As for the spirituality and ferocity of the battle, it depended on the grade of the mystic flame itself. At this moment, the fierce battle between the two mystic flames was already hundreds of meters high in the sky. Waves of terrifying roars were heard, as if to deafen one's ears. A casual gust of wind was enough to break a person's bones. It looked like two giant dragons were really fighting. The entire sea was already roaring and rolling, turning the sky and the earth upside down. Everyone could see it. Song Yu's mystic flame giant dragon was even bigger. It was at least 200 to 300 meters long, and its strength was also greater. However, Yang Dingtian's red mystic flame giant dragon was only 100 meters long. It was incomparably ferocious and domineering. Although its strength was much smaller than the other party, its ferocity and ruthlessness made Song Yu's icy heart heavenly flame a little fearful. What did this mean? It meant that Yang Dingtian's mystic flame was of a higher grade, and its battle talent was higher, and it was more ferocious. At this moment, Song Yu was completely shocked to the point of trembling. He originally thought that Yang Dingtian's mystic flame was at most a miscellaneous flame. Compared to his extreme great icy heart heavenly flame, it was far inferior. Therefore, Yang Dingtian actually wanted to compete with his mystic flame. He found it laughable from the bottom of his heart. He felt that Yang Dingtian was very vulgar. He could not wait to show off a miscellaneous flame, as if it was a treasure. Who knew that when the battle really started, he would be the one who was shocked. Yang Dingtian's mystic flame was so terrifying and sharp. Because Yang Dingtian's mystic qi cultivation was too much lower than his, the mystic flame giant dragon was only 1/3 of his size, but it was not at a disadvantage in the battle. Even his icy heart heavenly flame giant dragon was a little frightened. Instantly, Song Yu's gaze towards Yang Dingtian was filled with killing intent. His gaze towards the mystic flame giant dragon was also filled with jealousy and killing intent. Originally, he had only planned to defeat Yang Dingtian casually, and let Shimin Yinyan see clearly that there was a world of difference between him and Yang Dingtian. It was like the difference between clouds and mud. But now, not only did Yang Dingtian completely capture Shimin Yinyan's heart, but he also obtained such a powerful and terrifying mystic flame. Song Yu did not know how powerful this mystic flame was. But without a doubt, it was more than a grade higher than his mystic flame. Originally, Yang Dingtian's cultivation was not his opponent at all. Now because his mystic flame was of a higher grade than his, they were actually evenly matched. Those who did not know would think that Yang Dingtian's cultivation was really on par with his. This Yang Dingtian could not be left alive. He could not be allowed to become stronger. Especially this mystic flame of his. He had to take advantage of its owner's weakness to completely destroy it. Otherwise, the consequences would be unimaginable. Song Yu immediately made up his mind. No matter how much he had to pay, he had to completely destroy Yang Dingtian's mystic flame. As long as the mystic flame was destroyed, Yang Dingtian would not have any hope. Yang Dingtian, you're the one who's seeking death. Don't blame me. Song Yu said coldly. Mystic demon devouring ghost formula. Song Yu's face abruptly changed. His originally rosy handsome face instantly became incomparably pale and shocking. The originally mesmerizing eyes instantly became incomparably demonic and cold. The originally rosy lips instantly became a dazzling black color. Song Yu, a peerless handsome man, instantly became bewitching and gorgeous. Then, a black mark suddenly appeared around his body. Swoosh 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 swoosh. The surrounding air, sea, and beach's mystic qi energy frantically poured into his body. Suddenly, Song Yu's mystic qi cultivation fiercely skyrocketed. 6-star revered martial artist. 7-star revered martial artist. 8-star revered martial artist. 9-star revered martial artist. At the same time, the icy heart heavenly fire dragon's body suddenly increased by 3 times, and its power increased by several times. The originally stunning blue color was instantly enveloped by a layer of terrifying black. The originally frightened icy heart, heavenly fire blue dragon seemed to have been demonized. It became incomparably ferocious and terrifying. Even the female disciples of the Netherworld Sea, who were present, felt a burst of fear. The 1,000-meter-long dragon shrouded the sky, causing the entire sky to become dark. It was as if a demon had descended, and Yang Dingtian's ferocious red million-spirit demon fire dragon was still only 100 meters long. It was only 1/10 of the opponent's size. The originally huge dragon became incomparably small in comparison. Song Yu, you're shameless and deceitful, Yin angrily shouted. Song Yu's eyes revealed a murderous aura. He looked at Yang Dingtian and laughed coldly. Yang Dingtian, bid farewell to your mystic flame. It's going to be completely destroyed. At the same time, Song Yu's 1,000-meter-long demonized blue mystic flame dragon suddenly opened its huge mouth and swallowed Yang Dingtian's red mystic flame dragon. Chapter 316. That's right, Song Yu used sorcery. In order to completely destroy Yang Dingtian's terrifying mysterious fire, Song Yu finally gave up on being casual and chose to use sorcery to completely destroy Yang Dingtian's mysterious fire. Not only did he overdraft his own mysterious qi, he also crazily devoured all the mysterious qi around him. He forcibly overdrafted his cultivation from a 6-star revered martial artist to a 9-star revered martial artist. He made his mysterious fire dragon 3 times stronger, just to destroy Yang Dingtian's mysterious fire. Because of jealousy, because of anger. How could a person like Yang Dingtian be worthy of a peerless beauty like Shimin Yanyan? How could he be worthy of such an amazing mysterious fire? So he must completely destroy it, even if the price was to be unable to cultivate for nearly a year. In the trembling eyes of the crowd, they only saw the blue and black 1,000-meter-long dragon opening its terrifying dark mouth and swallowing Yang Dingtian's red mysterious fire dragon. That red mysterious fire dragon crazily struggled to escape. But that blue mysterious ice heart heavenly fire dragon that seemed to have been demonized was too big and too fast. It didn't leave any chance for its opponent and directly swallowed it. Then that red mysterious fire dragon completely disappeared. Everyone cried out in surprise. Looking at all this in disbelief, looking at the disappearing red mysterious fire dragon, their eyes were filled with infinite sadness. Even the female disciples of the Netherworld Sea had a look of shock and sadness. Even though Song Yu belonged to their side, even though many of them were once infatuated with Song Yu, but now, they were full of disdain for Song Yu and sympathy and sadness for Yang Dingtian. Anyone could see that Song Yu used a very dishonorable method. Although the Netherworld Sea wasn't a Taekwondo league and didn't reject sorcery. But after all, this wasn't a life-and-death battle, but a competition, and it wasn't even a very important competition. To Yang Dingtian, maybe winning or losing was very important, but to Song Yu, winning or losing was only a face. But Song Yu still used a dishonorable method to completely destroy Yang Dingtian. This super handsome man, this cold and elegant proud son of the heavens, made them extremely disappointed. They now understood why Shimin Yanyan would choose Yang Dingtian and not look at Song Yu. This Song Yu's despicableness made his handsome face especially ugly. But all this sympathy couldn't be exchanged for anything. Yang Dingtian's mysterious fire dragon. Song Yu used a despicable method to devour it. The mysterious fighting flame was to fight a battle. In the beginning, he had used the most dangerous and direct method to fight against Song Yu. He realized that even though he had broken through to the martial honorable level, it was still very difficult for him to be a match for him. And his trump card was the 100 million demonic fire. He firmly believed that his million-spirit demonic flame could defeat Song Yu's mystic flame. So he used to fight the mysterious fire. As long as Song Yu lost the mysterious fire battle, or even if it was a draw, Yang Dingtian would be able to leave. Furthermore, to prevent Song Yu from using any evil methods, he had specially summoned many beautiful female disciples from the Sea of Hades to watch the battle. This was to pressure Song Yu so that he would care about his image and not use any dishonorable methods. Who would have thought that Song Yu would still use sorcery? After devouring Yang Dingtian's mysterious fire dragon, Song Yu's smile became complacent and sinister. He said, Yang Dingtian, did you think I would be so pedantic that I wouldn't use any tricks? You're too naive. Haha. Song Yu laughed as he frantically channeled his mysterious qi into the blue-black dragon's stomach to completely crush the 100 million demonic fire dragon. Yang Dingtian, your mysterious fire is finished. You're finished too. Song Yu said coldly, after I destroy the mysterious fire, you'll be next. No one can leave after offending the Sea of Hades. At this moment, Song Yu had completely shed all pretense of cordiality. Not only did he want to destroy Yang Dingtian's mysterious fire, but he also wanted to completely destroy Yang Dingtian. Shameless. The ones who scolded were none other than the many female disciples from the Sea of Hades. As for Yin Yin, she had already placed her hand on her sword and was prepared for the worst. Yang Dingtian looked at the sinister Song Yu and slowly closed his eyes. Why? Have you accepted your fate? Song Yu sneered. After Yang Dingtian closed his eyes, he felt the 100 million demonic fire dragon in his stomach. At this moment, the huge 100 million demonic fire dragon was being crushed in the blue-black dragon's stomach and was in great danger. As for the heart flame in Yang Dingtian's sea of qi, it was on the verge of collapse and could be extinguished at any time. Yang Dingtian had entered the most dangerous moment. He did not want to fight to the death. He only wanted to think of a way to break through Song Yu's defenses or force the arrogant Song Yu to let him leave through a draw. However, who knew that Song Yu's arrogance was completely fake? He directly shed all pretense of cordiality and revealed his most sinister side. Next, it's time to put myself in death and then come back to life. Yang Dingtian took a deep breath. Then, he ignited a weak heart flame in his sea of qi and directly burned the walls of his sea of qi. The sea of qi that contained mysterious fire dragon was an alternative space formed by the walls of the sea of qi. As for the walls of the sea of qi, they were formed by the mysterious fire dragon after being compressed by thousands of times. Therefore, using the heart flame to burn the walls of the sea of qi was a kind of reverse transformation, turning the sea of qi back into mysterious fire dragon and releasing it. What would happen if the walls of the sea of qi were turned into mysterious fire dragon? The wall of his sea of qi was getting thinner and thinner. If it was light, his cultivation would degenerate. If it was heavy, his sea of qi would explode. Therefore, in the primal chaos mainland, when a person wanted to perish together with his enemy, he would most likely choose to detonate his sea of qi. The so-called detonate of the sea of qi was to use the heart flame to burn the walls of the sea of qi and turn the sea of qi, which had been condensed for decades, back into mysterious fire dragon, and then explode it. The only outcome was, of course, to be smashed into pieces. Yang Dingtian's method was not to detonate the sea of qi, but the nature was very similar. It was just a very small version of detonating the sea of qi. The consequences were extremely serious. If it was light, the cultivation base would degenerate. If it was heavy, the sea of qi would explode, and the body would be smashed into pieces. Therefore, this was called putting oneself in death and fighting to live. Yang Dingtian dared to do this because his sea of qi was golden. In the end, it was the golden mysterious fire dragon that condensed a brand new sea of qi from the Naga royalty. Huff! The heart flame crazily burned the walls of the sea of qi, and Yang Dingtian's million-spirit demon fire dragon was struggling desperately. It was riddled with scars and could be completely destroyed at any time. Boom! Finally, where the heart flame ignited the inner walls of the sea of qi, countless mysterious fire dragons suddenly burst out. In an instant, the empty sea of qi was filled up. But this time, the mysterious fire dragon that was filled up was not the battle mysterious fire dragon. It was not even pure mysterious fire dragon, but golden mysterious fire dragon. Go! Yang Dingtian ordered. Suddenly, the golden mysterious fire dragon violently surged out through Yang Dingtian's profound veins and fiercely shot toward the million-spirit demon fire dragon. After the golden mysterious fire dragon was infused with the million-spirit demon fire dragon, in an instant, the red fire dragon's body suddenly burst out with a dazzling golden color. The fire dragon, which was originally riddled with wounds and on the verge of death, instantly recovered. Its body did not become bigger, but it was originally composed of flames. At this time, it was completely composed of golden light and red flames. It became condensed and almost solid. Though, there was a roar that almost shook the sky and the earth. Bang! An enormous explosion resounded as an enormous hole suddenly appeared on the chest and abdomen of the blue and black profound flame dragon, controlled by Song Yu. After that, a golden-colored profound flame dragon suddenly charged out from within. It was like a king descending to the world. This golden fire dragon soared into the sky, then swooped down and ferociously entangled Song Yu's blue-black profound fire dragon. It opened its golden mouth, revealing its golden fangs, aimed at the blue-black profound fire dragon's neck, and fiercely bit down. No! Song Yu let out a mournful howl. His blue-black profound fire dragon's neck was suddenly bitten open, and its huge head seemed like it would break off and fall off at any time. Countless blue-black flames fell from the sky. When they fell into the sea turned black and instantly froze into ice. No! In the midst of Song Yu's howl, Yang Dingtian's golden profound fire dragon continued to crazily bite, as if it wanted to tear the enemy 10 times its size into pieces. Ah! Song Yu's eyes were filled with determination amidst his frantic howl. Boom! Then, the 1,000-meter-long blue-black profound fire dragon's huge head suddenly broke off and exploded. The remaining half of its body quickly shrank, and with lightning speed, retracted into Song Yu's body. This Song Yu was actually so decisive. He directly cut off his head to survive, because his profound fire dragon's head was already entangled, and its entire body was about to be completely destroyed. He decisively cut off the dragon's head, and returned the remaining small part of the profound fire dragon to his body. One must know that this profound fire dragon's head took up more than half of the profound fire dragon's energy. In other words, the profound fire that returned to his body was already completely damaged, and its energy was less than half of its original. Originally, this was a top-grade profound fire, but now, it was probably not even comparable to a mixed fire. After cutting off the profound fire dragon's head to survive, Song Yu looked at Yang Dingtian, with eyes filled with endless hatred. Yang Dingtian, you destroyed my profound fire today, and I will definitely let you die without a burial place. After saying that, Song Yu suddenly pulled out his sharp sword, wanting to completely smash Yang Dingtian into pieces. At this moment, many female disciples from the Netherworld Sea were still in shock from Yang Dingtian's victory. Seeing Song Yu actually wanted to kill with his sword, they could not help but angrily rebuke. Yang Dingtian looked at Song Yu and sneered. Do you think that you are still a 6-star marshal revered after using the sorcery? Yang Dingtian slowly raised the ugly sword in his hand, wielding an incomparably powerful force, and said coldly, Originally, we did not need to fight to the death. I only wanted to break through you, and not defeat you. The best result would be that I lost, but I succeeded in breaking through you. I did not expect you to be so fierce and narrow-minded, wanting to kill me. Then, don't blame me for being ruthless. After saying that, Yang Dingtian's sharp sword suddenly slashed. Immediately, that huge golden profound fire dragon in the sky suddenly shot towards Song Yu. Do you think that your profound fire dragon can break through my treasure's defense? Song Yu sneered. Suddenly, his entire body was enveloped by a snow-white light shield. There were countless treasures in the Netherworld Sea, and this light shield was even more valuable than Yang Dingtian's deep-sea Xian clothes. You are courting death. Yang Dingtian sneered. He slashed his wrist. Pa! A bolt of lightning was directly spat out from the golden profound fire dragon's mouth. That's right, this was the lightning attribute's demonic sky split. The point attribute's attack could completely ignore all energy defense, and directly penetrate it. This blue lightning instantly turned into a golden color in the dragon's mouth, and blended with the dragon's color. Then, it fiercely slashed into Song Yu's chest, and directly tore a huge crack on his light shield. Impossible! Then, in Song Yu's disbelieving exclamation, this golden profound fire dragon suddenly drilled into the light shield's crack, and fiercely hit Song Yu's chest, and then directly penetrated through his body. Of course, the so-called penetrating through his body, was actually crushing him. Because this golden profound fire dragon's body was huge, far bigger than Song Yu's body. Puff! Blood crazily spurted out. Song Yu's body, like a straw, was directly sent flying a few hundred meters away, and fiercely fell into the sea. And that golden profound fire dragon made a turn in the air, and then directly flew back to Yang Dingtian, and became smaller and smaller. Finally, it turned into a golden flame, and directly drilled back into Yang Dingtian's lower abdomen, and turned into the heart's flame in his chi si, quietly burning, elegant and peaceful, as if that ferocious dragon just now was not it. Moreover, Yang Dingtian shockingly discovered that his profound fire was no longer red in color, but golden in color. His million-spirit demon fire permanently turned golden and carried the domineering energy of the Naga royalty. Yang Dingtian took a deep breath and stretched out his hand towards Yin Yan and said, "Darling, let's go leave this place." Chapter 317. At this moment, the icy heart heavenly fire dragon's flames had stopped falling. The surrounding sea was filled with black flames and black floating ice. Yin Yan held back her tears and reached out to hold Yang Dingtian's hand. The surrounding dozens of young and female disciples of the netherworld sea applauded with envy and blessings in their eyes. As for Song Yu, who fell into the sea, he never got up again. Of course, he was definitely not dead. Yang Dingtian's mystic flame could not harm his life. Even though he had overdrawn his mystic chi, and his body was very empty, he was still a 6-star marshal revered. Yang Dingtian released countless souls of the million-spirit demonic flame, and flew towards the energy barrier above his head, looking for the exit of the netherworld sea. The golden beach was a few thousand meters above the entrance of the netherworld sea. Therefore, the battle with the mystic flame dragon did not touch the energy barrier at the top. Soon, countless resentful spirits found the exit of the energy barrier. Yang Dingtian held Yin Yan's hand, and the ethereal mystic wings appeared on his back. He was about to fly out. "Wait!" Suddenly, a voice seemed to come from the horizon. The voice was not loud, but it shook everyone's body. It was the master of the netherworld sea, Wu Yu. "Greetings, master." Instantly, dozens of female disciples of the netherworld sea knelt down. Their faces were almost touching the sea, and they did not dare to look up. The blue-black mystic flame energy scattered on the sea gradually gathered and turned into Wu Yu's appearance, floating in the air. "Song Yu, how long are you going to hide?" Wu Yu said coldly. Immediately, Song Yu flew out from the sea and knelt down in the air. His face was in a mess, and he looked dispirited. "Song Yu, are you seriously injured?" Wu Yu asked. "No, master." Song Yu said. "Then you can't defeat Yang Dingtian?" Wu Yu asked. "No." Song Yu said. "Yang Dingtian is not my opponent." "Then why did you lose?" Wu Yu asked. "Because he competed with me in Mystic Flame." Song Yu said. "If it was a normal battle, he would not be half as strong as me." "That's right, he was using a strategy." Wu Qiong said. "He used your arrogance and underestimation of the enemy. He used his strength to fight against your weakness. But why did you agree when he said that he wanted to compete in Profound Flame?" Song Yu immediately fell silent. "That's right. Why did he have to agree? If it was a normal duel, Yang Dingtian had no chance of winning at all, nor would he be able to force him out of the circle. If he wanted to compete with the Profound Flame, why should he agree? Because you are conceited, arrogant, and supercilious. I feel that no matter which direction you take, Yang Dingtian is not your match at all." Wu Yu said. "Of course, there's nothing wrong with that. However, if one was proud, one should be proud to the end. If one was shameless, one should be shameless to the end. You cheated, you used sorcery, but so what? This was not the Tiando League, and no one would be judged by morality. Why are you hiding in the sea and not daring to show your face after losing? Do you feel ashamed to face others?" "Yes," Song Yu replied. "What's there to be ashamed about?" Wu Yu sneered. "You lost dishonorably, but he won dishonorably as well." Then, Wu Yu stared at Yang Dingtian. "Don't you think so?" "Yang Dingtian, you won dishonorably." Yang Dingtian said. "Although I don't care about being dishonorable, I still want to ask, how did I win dishonorably?" Because you stole. Wu Qiong said. Sect Master Wu Yu, please speak clearly. Yang Dingtian said. Because you stole a treasure from the Sea of Hades, the golden demon core of the Naga royalty. Isn't that right? Wu Yu said coldly. Yang Dingtian's heart suddenly trembled. Don't try to deny it. Wu Yu said. Because your last mysterious flame dragon was filled with the golden energy of the Naga royalty. You stole the demon core of the Naga royalty from the Sea of Hades from Miju Tuchuo. What a joke! Yang Dingtian sneered. Sect Master Wu Yu, I went to Senior Miju Tuchuo to ask for the Naga royalty demon core, but I was rejected. Moreover, the Naga royalty demon core is in Senior Miju Tuchuo's hands, and you have seen it before. Still want to quibble? Wu Yu said coldly. If it wasn't for the Naga royalty demon core, how could you break through to the revered level in just a few days? When did I break through to the revered level? Yang Dingtian said. I'm only a 9-star martial ancestor now, and I haven't broken through to the revered level at all. I did break through in the past few days, but that was because of the purple Naga Xian veins. I have a full 3 feet of purple Naga Xian veins. You will know my specific cultivation level with a gentle probe. Wu Yu frowned, and suddenly a cloud of black fog gushed out and drilled into Yang Dingtian's wrist. A moment later it withdrew. At this time, Yang Dingtian's cultivation level had indeed not reached the revered level. As for my Xian flame containing the golden energy of the Naga, I can only say that I have a very close relationship with the Naga. I am wearing the deep sea Xian clothes, and I also have the Naga's deep sea Xian poison, Yang Dingtian said. Yang Dingtian absolutely could not admit that he had obtained the Naga royalty demon core. Once he admitted it, he would almost certainly die, because he was afraid of Saint Tantai. Otherwise Yang Dingtian would have died long ago. And if he admitted that he had obtained the Naga royalty core, then Wu Yu would be completely justified in killing Yang Dingtian. You are really a glib talker. Sect Master Wu Yu said coldly. But all your explanations are futile. I can easily drill into the deepest part of your brain. You have no secrets to me. Yang Dingtian's heart suddenly trembled, and he said in his heart, Master, quickly protect the consciousness in my brain. Dongfang Minmi said, I will do my best, but I can't guarantee that I can resist this person's mental penetration. Yang Dingtian could not help but ask, Master, how strong is this Wu Yu? Much stronger than me, Dongfang Minmi said. Because the netherworld sea belongs to the outside forces, it is not listed in the martial arts rankings of the chaotic world. Perhaps it is second only to the people of the hidden sect and the temple of annihilation. At this moment, Wu Yu turned into a cloud of black mist and suddenly flew over, entangling Yang Dingtian's entire body. At this moment, Yang Dingtian's entire body was completely unable to move. Then, a completely irresistible energy suddenly drilled into Yang Dingtian's brain. In an instant, Yang Dingtian's brain was completely blank. It was as if when his cultivation broke through, his entire spirit entered a complete nothingness. It was as if his entire brain was completely out of his control. At this time, Wu Yu's consciousness had already entered Yang Dingtian's brain, searching for the most secret information. However, the situation was slightly different. Yang Dingtian was not completely nothingness at this moment. It was as if he was standing high up in the sky and watching his spirit and consciousness, as if this brain was not his own. All of a sudden, this cloud of black mist suddenly trembled. A light burst out from the depths of Yang Dingtian's mind. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. This cloud of black mist quickly withdrew from Yang Dingtian's brain and loosened its entanglement around Yang Dingtian. It retreated a few hundred meters and then condensed back into Wu Yu's appearance. Wu Yu's eyes were fixed on Yang Dingtian. Yang Dingtian asked in his heart, Master, did you block Wu Yu's consciousness? Dongfang Minmi was silent for a moment. After a long time he said, No, this person's strength is far beyond my imagination. Yang Dingtian's heart went cold. Once Wu Yu's consciousness completely penetrated Yang Dingtian's brain, there were basically no secrets left, not to mention the information related to the Naga royalty core. Right now, Wu Yu could kill Yang Dingtian, Miju Tuchuo, and even Elder Wuyan confidently. However, Wu Yu did not do anything. He only stared coldly at young Dingtian. After a long time he said coldly, "Now, do you still want to say that you did not steal the Naga royalty core?" "Of course not," young Dingtian said coldly. "Ha ha ha ha." Wuyi suddenly laughed. Suddenly the sky shook and the earth shook. The seawater surged and Yang Dingtian could not stand still. After a few minutes, Wuyi stopped laughing and waved his hand. "Okay, Yang Dingtian, you can go." Yang Dingtian was stunned. What did this mean? Wuyi was sure that he had obtained the Naga royalty core. But he still let him go? What kind of play was Wuyi planning? Or what kind of conspiracy did he have? Songyu, recuperate in the Netherworld Sea for half a month. Then go out and cultivate. Wuyi said. Then, the blue-black mysterious fire energy condensed into a blue flame and rushed back into Songyu's body. Wuyi disappeared in front of Yang Dingtian's eyes. Yang Dingtian was completely stunned and puzzled. What kind of trick was Wuyi playing? Previously, he looked like he wanted to kill him. But now he let him go so easily? What was his purpose? Or did he find out something? What are you still standing there for? Why are you still not leaving? Suddenly, Elder Wuyan's scolding came from the front. Yang Dingtian only heard her voice, but did not see her figure. Immediately, he pulled Yin Yan towards the direction of Elder Wuyan's voice and bowed. "Grandma, take care." Of course, Yang Dingtian had already put a holy water pill in Elder Wuyan's medicine. He just did not tell her. Then, Yang Dingtian pulled Yang Dingtian and flew towards the exit of the Netherworld Sea. Soon enough, Yang Dingtian had left the Sea of Hades and arrived at the Silver Beach. Yin Yan looked at the Netherworld Sea under the sea and murmured, "I finally left this place. Let's go." Yang Dingtian kissed her and pulled her to the other side of the Silver Beach. Stepping on the fast boat here, they rowed towards the north. On the small boat, Yang Dingtian was rowing. Yin Yan lay comfortably on his lap with her beautiful eyes closed, enjoying the beautiful tranquility. "Husband, the thing that happened 6 years ago, the most painful secret in my heart, do you want to know now?" Yin Yan suddenly asked. Yang Dingtian, "Of course I want to know. I especially want to know who was so crazy to put an energy black hole in you. Something even more terrible than the deep sea Xian poison." Chapter 318. And then, Yang Dingtian asked. Yin Yan tried her best to stop crying and said, "After knowing that he was my cousin Yang Zheng, I didn't dare to bring him back to Cloud Sky City. I only dared to drive the carriage to a remote place. I settled him in a rural mountain, more than 500 miles away from Cloud Sky City. I found an abandoned hut and let him recuperate there. His injuries were very serious. I was afraid that he wouldn't be able to take it, so I secretly returned to Cloud Sky City and asked Sister Ningming for good pills. I even brought Luer along. Luer stayed in the hut to take care of him. I went out every day to gather herbs and hunt beasts to treat his injuries. Just like that, I took care of him for 2 months before his injuries gradually recovered." And then, Yang Dingtian asked, "Martial Uncle Shiman, you didn't know?" Yin Yan didn't directly answer Yang Dingtian's question and said, "After Yang Zheng's injuries recovered, he suddenly left without saying goodbye. I was anxious and angry, so I ran out to find him. In the end, I found him more than 100 miles away. He had fainted on the side of the road. I was very angry and asked him why he left so quickly. He said, 'What can I do if I don't leave?' Could it be that there was still something between us?" After saying this, Yang Dingtian's face suddenly frowned. Yin Yan hurriedly kissed his face to please him. "Actually, when I was very young, Father had already arranged a marriage for me," Yin Yan said. "When he first took over the position of Cloud Sky City Lord, Father said that the position of City Lord belonged to the Yang family, and that he would return it to the Yang family in the future. So when I was very young, he arranged a marriage between cousin Yang Zheng and me. So, since we were young, Cloud Sky City treated us as a couple, so he was especially good to me. Until the year I was 10, the Yang family rebelled. They wanted to kill my father and take over the position of Cloud Sky City Lord. Father ruthlessly suppressed them and then chased the rebelling Yang family members out. That's why this marriage was left unsettled." And then? Yang Dingtian asked. "Then, he suddenly cried and begged me to elope with him," Yin Yan said. "Do you agree?" Yang Dingtian asked. I didn't. I can't leave father and mother. Yin Yin said. Then he said that since this was the case, there had to be an end to this matter. Let him leave, as if he had never appeared. I don't want him to leave just like that. I don't want to leave Cloud Sky City either. Thus, I said that I would bring him back to Cloud Sky City, and asked him if he dared to go back with me. In the end, after thinking for a while, he gritted his teeth and said, I dare. Thus, I brought him back to Cloud Sky City. Then, what was Martial Uncle Shimon's reaction? Yang Dingtian asked. Yin Yin said, I brought Yang Zheng back to Cloud Heaven City and knelt in front of father. My father looked at me for a long time before he sighed. Are you finally willing to face me? As it turned out, father already knew that I had saved Yang Zheng. And because of me, he had already fallen out with the Northwest Qin City, fought 3 wars and killed many of their people. Then, father asked me if I had made a decision. He wanted Yang Zheng to stay, and I nodded. Yang Dingtian asked, then what happened next? Yin Yin said. Then, father announced that my marriage with Yang Zheng was still valid. Furthermore, Yang Zheng was still the successor of Cloud Sky City. Father even personally taught him martial arts, and treated him as a direct disciple. But during that time, father was very unhappy. Previously, he was very close to me and liked to coax me to talk every day. During that time, he didn't talk to me much. So in order to please him, I began to work hard to learn how to cook. Every day, I would make different soups for father to drink. Finally, father smiled at me more often. But occasionally, he would tell me that I had to be responsible for my own choices. Yang Dingtian could imagine Shimon Wuxia's state of mind at that time. The Yang clan was his greatest enemy, but for his daughter, he had no choice but to compromise. Yin Yin said, I thought that life would continue like this. Although it wasn't very sweet, at least it was happy. And every time I made soup, Yang Zheng would come and eat it secretly. He said that he envied my father and hoped that one day, I would be able to make soup for him every day. That way, even if it was a god, he wouldn't change. Yang Dingtian asked, then? Yin Yin took a deep breath, her beautiful eyes filled with pain. She said in a trembling voice, one day, he came to drink the soup I made as usual. When he saw me, his expression was a bit strange. I asked him what was wrong. He said that the soup was a bit salty. I thought that he was talking nonsense, and didn't take it seriously. I packed the soup and brought it to father. He said that he wanted to accompany me, and that he had some things to report to father. I didn't take it seriously, and let him come with me. But on the way there, I asked him if the soup was really salty. He said that it might be his taste buds. It's fine, he told me to bring the soup over. At this point, Yin Yin's delicate body was already trembling. She continued, I was still worried at that time, so I scooped up a spoonful and wanted to taste it. His expression changed slightly, and he told me not to drink it. I was suspicious, so I looked at him and said that he didn't want me to drink it, so I threw the soup away. The muscles on his face twitched. He smiled and said that if you want to drink it, you can drink it. So I drank a mouthful, and nothing happened. Sister Ningning once gave me a very strange needle. She said that this needle could detect any poison in the world. After I drank it, I was still worried and secretly tested it with the needle. There were no symptoms either. So I laughed at myself and brought the soup in. At this point, Yin Yin's face was already covered in tears. And then, Yang Dingtian asked. Then, after I entered father's room, I scooped out the soup as usual and brought it to father. Father took it, and was about to drink it as usual. Suddenly, I realized that Yang Zheng didn't directly follow me. I felt strange and instinctively whispered, Father, don't drink it. Father was very vigilant. He smelled the soup, and then took out the needle to test it. He laughed at me for making a fuss over nothing. Then, he directly picked up the bowl and drank it. Yin Yin sobbed. Not long after father drank the soup, a strange bird cry came from outside. Then, 4 men covered in black robes rushed over with swords in their hands. The person in the lead was the one who wore the same mask as Yang Zheng. He should be his elder. The 4 of them fiercely rushed over, and wanted to kill father. It turned out that there was a strong poison in the soup. It was a poison that couldn't be detected by anything. At this point, Yin Yan was already out of breath from crying. Yang Dingtian gently patted her back and said, "And then?" In addition to these 4 people, 10 more people rushed in and surrounded father. Also there were shouts of killing everywhere outside. They have been preparing for this day for a long time. As long as father drinks the poisonous soup, they will immediately kill him. Then, they will rebel in Cloud Sky City and kill most of the people who are loyal to father. Then they will take back Cloud Sky City. Yin Yan's voice trembled. They have been preparing for this day for a long time. Yang Zheng came every day to steal the soup, just for one day, to poison father. Moreover, it was a poison that couldn't be detected by anything. Then, I drank that spoonful of soup in front of Yang Zheng, and he didn't stop me. He just watched me drink it, so that I could continue to feed the soup to my father. Yin Yan's entire body was trembling. She said, "Everything was a conspiracy. It was all for the sake of killing my father and taking back Cloud Heaven City." And then, Yang Dingtian asked. Yin Yan continued. Then, just as the 10 or so experts were about to kill father, Yang Zheng appeared. He said that he would spare father's life, destroy his martial arts, and put him under house arrest. However, the masked old man said that he wanted to cut the weeds and eliminate the roots. Not only did he want to kill father and mother, but he also wanted to kill me. Yang Zheng was furious and said that he had to marry me. Otherwise he would commit suicide and let the Yang family die. In the end, the masked old man had no choice but to compromise. He said that he could keep me, but father had to be killed. Furthermore, Yang Zheng could only marry me as a concubine. The main wife had to marry the Northwest Chin City's second Mississippi. And then? Yang Dingtian asked. Then, Yang Zheng agreed and wanted to take me away. He said that if I couldn't see father being killed with my own eyes, I wouldn't leave. I put a sword to my neck and said that if he touched me, I would commit suicide. In the end, father smiled and told me to go out. The scene returned to 6 years ago. Shimen Wuya sat on a chair and said to Yin Yan, Go out. It's best that you don't see what happens next." "I'm sorry, father. It's all my fault. I won't go out. I won't go out. I'll die with you." Yin Yan was crying tears of blood. Shimen Wuya gently stroked Yin Yan's head and said, "Go, you should be a good daughter. When it comes to important matters, you have to listen to father. Go find your sister Ningning, okay? Remember, go find your sister Ningning." At this moment, Shimen Wuya's gaze was gentle and firm. Every time this happened, Yin Yan had to listen to her father. "Wipe away your tears. Remember that today is a small lesson," Shimen Wuya said. Yin Yan wiped away her tears and turned to leave. No one stopped her. Yang Zheng quickly chased after her and said in a trembling voice, "Yin Yan, don't blame me. I just wanted to take back everything that belonged to the Yang family. My love for you has never changed." Yin Yan turned around and looked at Yang Zheng's face. "I don't blame you. From your point of view, what you did was right." Yang Zheng chased after her and said, "I'll go beg my father and ask him to spare your father's life. Then you'll still marry me, and we'll be the same as before." Yin Yan dodged and said, "Don't dream like that." Then Yin Yan directly circulated her Xian Qi. Ignoring the fighting around her, she directly ran towards Ningning's valley. At this moment, she discovered that her Xian Qi had already regressed to the great mystic martial master level. Yang Zheng originally wanted to chase after her, but he knew that he had more important matters to attend to. Thus, he led the rebel forces and rushed towards the scripture pavilion. Inside Shimen Wuya's room, "Junior Wuya, I've waited for this day for so long." The masked old man slowly walked forward and said, "Do you know how much I sacrificed for this day? Don't you want to know who I am?" Shimen Wuya sighed and said, "Yang Yinchong, big brother. For today you sold yourself to the devil. Was it worth it?" The masked old man fiercely lifted his mask. It was an incomparably terrifying face. His entire facial features were all twisted and rotten. It was completely disgusting to the extreme. "It was worth it, of course it was worth it." Yang Yinchong said coldly, "Cloud Sky City was originally mine. I was originally going to become the most outstanding Cloud Sky City lord in hundreds of years. It was because of that disgusting pig-killing swordsmanship that I became a madman and a cripple. Do you know where I went to recover my cultivation? I went to the Dongli grasslands tens of thousands of miles away. I went to the northernmost celestial Red Sea. I sold my soul and everything to the devil in exchange for the current me to recover my martial arts and break through to the master level. However, he has become neither human nor ghost. However, I don't regret it, because my son is normal. Most importantly, Cloud Sky City is back in the hands of the Yang family. Yang Yinchong said, and you, the usurper, will die in incomparable pain. Can you kill me? Shiman Wuya asked. Of course, we have 4 masters and 10 martial venerables here. Yang Yinchong laughed and said, and you, although you are already an advanced master. But do you know what you just drank? It's a dark crystal refined from the celestial Red Sea's water. It's enough to devour all energy. A few 100,000 pounds of seawater was refined into a dark crystal the size of a speck of dust. It's enough to completely destroy your cultivation. Right now, let alone the dozen of us, even if I were to kill you alone, it would still be more than enough. Shiman Wuya looked at Yang Yinchong indifferently. He stood up and slowly walked toward Yang Yinchong. Yang Yinchong instinctively took 2 steps back. What are you afraid of? Shiman Wuya laughed. What am I afraid of? Your cultivation is far inferior to mine. You're already a dead man. What am I afraid of? Yang Yinchong laughed and then pulled out an ugly big sword. You think too much, Shiman Wuya said. He raised his palm and slammed it toward Yang Yinchong. Yang Yinchong met it with a palm. Ah! Then, Yang Yinchong let out a shrill scream. All that could be seen was a dark shadow spreading from his palm all the way up, instantly covering his entire body. Yang Yinchong's body trembled crazily, like a ghost. Shiman Wuya said indifferently, Yin Yin told me not to drink it just now, so I didn't drink it. It looked like I drank it, but in fact, I directly used my qi to boil the soup. I saw this speck of dark dust in my palm, and then I kept it here, so that I can return it to you now. Yang Yinchong screamed crazily and roared crazily. He felt that the energy in his body was quickly disappearing. Brother, I won't kill you. I'll lock you up. You and your son can spend the rest of your life together, Shiman Wuya said. At this time, the remaining experts finally came to their senses. They came over and pulled out their swords. They surrounded Shiman Wuya, trembling with fear, ready to fight. Yang Yinchong roared, Shiman Wuya, you're good. But just now your daughter also drank a mouthful of soup. Her genius cultivation is completely destroyed. When Shiman Wuya heard this, his eyebrows furrowed and he roared angrily. Bastard, go to hell! Swish, swish, swish. Shiman Wuya furiously attacked with his sword. Suddenly blood spurted out. Yang Yinchong in front of him was directly torn into pieces. After that, the furious Shiman Wuya wielded his bloodthirsty sword. In an instant, he killed more than a dozen experts, 3 grandmasters, and 10 revered martial artists in the room. Swish, 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 swish. The sword shadow was like a dragon. More than a dozen experts of Qin City, almost without any resistance, were torn into pieces by the furious Shiman Wuya within a few seconds. Then, Shiman Wuya rushed out of the small building and flew toward Shiman Ningning's valley. Back in reality, Yang Dingtian and Yin Yin's boat. And then, Yang Dingtian asked. Yin Yin said. Then father came over and desperately poured qi into my body. He used all kinds of methods to suck out the dark crystal from my body, but he didn't succeed. Instead, his cultivation was damaged. Just like that, he was delayed in suppressing the rebellion in Cloud Sky City. That night, many people died. As for that old bastard Yang Yen, he wasn't clean in this rebellion either. But when he heard that father was fine and Yang Yinchong was killed, he immediately turned around and led people to slaughter the rebels. Yang Zheng, who was sent to attack the scripture depository, also died under Yang Yan's sword. Yang Zheng died? Yang Dingtian asked. Dead. Yang Yin personally chopped off Yang Zheng's head for everyone to see. That way, my father couldn't take the opportunity to eliminate him and let that old thief live until now. Yin Yin said. Then Yin Yin smiled miserably and said, the whole thing is like that. I destroyed myself. I almost destroyed my father and the entire Cloud Sky City. Yang Dingtian took a deep breath and asked, then, do you love Yang Zheng? Or did you love him? Chapter 319. Yin Yan didn't directly answer Yang Dingtian's question. Yang Dingtian asked again, Yin Yan, do you love Yang Zheng? Have you ever loved him? Yin Yan looked at Yang Dingtian with her beautiful eyes. Husband, when do you think a woman can learn to love? Yang Dingtian shook his head. I don't know. Yin Yan said. Sister Ningning has been lonely all her life. Perhaps when I told her about you, she pitied you and loved you. But I'm different. I'm a careless, bold, and unruly girl. It wasn't until I brought you to the netherworld sea, when your life and death were uncertain, that I learned to love. Unforgettable love. Before that, I never learned what love was, and I never loved anyone. Yin Yan said. When we were young, Yang Zheng and I were childhood sweethearts. He treated me very well, and was very gentle. After we grew up, he treated me even better and gentler. He never disobeyed me. At that time, Father said that he wanted to betroth me to him. I didn't refuse because if I did, Yang Zheng would have no place in Cloud Sky City. I didn't want him to be hurt. I had feelings for him and treated him as my family. Even when Father announced our marriage again, I felt a bit suffocated. I even felt like I couldn't breathe, but I didn't object. I didn't think there was anything wrong with it, because I didn't fall in love with any man. If I must get married, then marrying a man who loves me, a man who is like my family, isn't bad either. But you're different. Yin Yan reached out and touched Yang Dingtian's face. She said softly, You're so gentle that you don't have any patience. No matter what I say or do, you oppose it and go against me. But in the end, it turns out that you're right. You're not as handsome as Yang Zheng, and you're not as gentle and elegant as him. You're also unfaithful and stingy. But I love you very much. I love you so deeply that it's engraved in my heart. To say the most nauseating words, I can't live without you. Yang Dingtian forcefully pulled Yin Yan into his arms. Husband, are you angry? Yin Yan asked softly. Yang Dingtian shook his head. I didn't. Are you jealous? Yin Yan asked. No. When Yang Dingtian said this, he couldn't help but feel a little guilty, because he was really jealous, very jealous. You're just jealous, Yin Yan said in a tender voice. You're so unreasonable. Yang Zheng and I didn't do anything. We didn't even hold hands, and you're jealous. Look at you and Dongfang Bingling. You have done so many intimate things in secret. If I were as narrow-minded as you, how could I live? Yang Dingtian immediately blushed. Yin Yan twisted her small waist and said in a tender voice, Good husband, I swear to you that Yang Zheng really didn't even hold my finger, really. At that time, even though we were engaged, and he wanted to be close to me. However, I was young at that time and felt that intimate contact between men and women was disgusting. Unlike now, I've done all kinds of shameless things with you. Seeing Yang Dingtian's complicated and awkward expression, Yin Yan said softly, Husband, tell me, what do you think? Yang Dingtian said awkwardly, First of all, my thoughts are very perverted. Say it. The more perverted you are, the more I love you. Yin Yan said, I was thinking, if Yang Zheng didn't rebel and didn't want to harm your father, then wouldn't you marry him? Then won't you marry him and become his wife? Then you won't belong to me anymore. Yang Dingtian said embarrassedly, That's right, his thoughts were very perverted. Using something that didn't happen to talk about it was simply groundless. That's not necessarily true, Yin Yan said seriously. Even if Yang Zheng didn't rebel, my cultivation is still very high. I might have broken through to revered martial artists by now, or maybe not, but I'm still very powerful. Then, I still have to go to Inyang school with my father, and meet you like a savage. Then, you took advantage of me the first time we met. Then, I still have to slap you half to death. Then, you still have to go to Inyang school, and be hunted down by Dongfang Bingling. Then my father will definitely be fine this time, definitely fine. Then we'll bring you back to Cloud Sky City. Then, you'll still go against me, and you'll become more and more powerful. Then, we'll still be entangled with each other, and become a pair of dogs. Maybe, Yang Zheng will become the lord of Cloud Sky City, and I'll elope with you. We'll still be intimate every day and do some shameless things just like now. Am I right? Then, Yin Yan became passionate, and her breathing became heavy. She said softly, So, even if Yang Zheng didn't rebel, I would still be with you. I would still become your woman, am I right? Yes, you're mine. No matter which time or space, which world, heaven or hell, you're mine. Yang Dingtian fiercely hugged Yin Yin in his arms and kissed her little mouth, as if he wanted to kiss her until she breathed her last. Yes, I'm yours, I'm yours. Yin Yin trembled and said, everything about me is yours. My mouth is yours, my face is yours, my legs are yours, my heart is yours, every inch of my body is yours. Eat me, kill me, eat me, tear me apart, and eat everything into your stomach. Then, it was the real lightning striking the earth. Mu Yini had been waiting for Yang Dingtian for a few days. At first, she obediently stayed on the island and didn't leave. Later, she found that there wasn't even a ghost around. The fiercest animal was also the dolphin that jumped out of the sea every day to act cute. She couldn't stay on the island, and directly jumped into the sea. She collected from the bottom of the sea every day, but because she was worried about Yang Dingtian in the Netherworld Sea, she basically threw away everything she picked after playing with it for a while. Then she unknowingly swam south. She didn't fear the sea at all. She was like the daughter of the sea. So for a few days, she unknowingly pretended not to know and swam south for an unknown distance. Today, she was collecting from the bottom of the sea and playing with the fish at the bottom of the sea. Suddenly, she felt that there seemed to be some movement on the surface of the sea. She couldn't help but carefully float up. When she was less than a foot away from the surface of the sea, she suddenly heard a strange sound. The words were also strange. Just kill me, tear me to shreds. It seemed that a murder was happening on the surface. Mu Liani carefully poked her head out and opened her eyes. Suddenly, she was completely stunned. Oh my God! Her eyes were going blind. Could it be any more shameless? Could it be any crazier? She, Mu Liani, was also full of wildness. She wasn't a bashful young lady, but a bold and unrestrained girl. Because of curiosity, she had read a lot of related books and picture albums. However, the scene in front of her was really beyond her imagination. Even the most shameless picture album couldn't draw what was in front of her eyes. In shock, Mu Liani felt her heart tremble, and her whole body was instantly numbed by electricity. After a few minutes, she finally saw the faces of the two people fighting on the boat. At first glance, it was even more incredible. One of them was her young master. The young master who always pushed and pinched her. One was the young lady of Cloud Sky City. The other was so beautiful that it was blinding, and her figure was so good that it made people jealous. The proud and noble young lady of Cloud Sky City. However, the princess of Cloud Sky City in front of her didn't have the slightest bit of noble and proud aura. She was completely the most shameless woman. Suddenly, Mu Liani didn't know if she should continue diving or surface. Just then, a naughty little dolphin rushed over and directly knocked Mu Liani's delicate body into the air. It originally wanted to be close to humans, but it didn't know how to control its strength. Bam! Mu Liani directly fell onto Yang Dingtian's boat. The entire boat made a loud noise and shook violently, almost flipping over. At this moment, Yang Dingtian and Yin Yin saw Mu Liani fall onto the boat and were completely stunned. Immediately after, the water snake skin suit on Mu Liani's body suddenly cracked open. Note: begging for monthly votes. Chapter 320. At this moment, Mu Liani's worldview had been completely destroyed. She had always said that she would stick to the young master, but now that she saw such an explicit scene, she only had one thought, and that was to run away as far as possible. Therefore, she didn't care about her tight leather clothes. She just wanted to jump off the boat and hide at the bottom of the sea again. But for some reason, she didn't have any strength in her hands and feet. Not to mention jumping off the boat, it was difficult for her to even move. Therefore, she could only close her eyes tightly and pretend that she didn't see anything. When Mu Liani fell from the sky, Yin Yin also exclaimed. Her delicate body suddenly shrank, and she didn't know what to do. She directly covered her face and did everything else as usual. She buried her head in her arms and immersed herself in her own world like an ostrich, pretending that nothing had happened. A quarter of an hour later, the sea and the boat were calm. Yin Yin rolled her eyes at Yang Dingtian. She turned over and lay on the edge of the boat with her legs together. Yang Dingtian couldn't help but be slightly stunned. He didn't know why Yin Yan did this. I've calculated. Today is the best day to have a baby, Yin Yan said. Yin Yan, are you in such a hurry to have a baby? You're still a baby yourself, Yang Dingtian said. Not in a hurry. I'm already 20, Yin Yan said. No matter if it's a boy or a girl, when I walk on the street 10 years later, I want people to think that I'm the elder sister, not the mother. At this moment, Mu Liani finally opened her eyes. She shyly took out her clothes and put them on. Then she poured a basin of water and put it in front of Yang Dingtian. Do it yourself. Then she poured another basin of water and added some natural petal fragrance oil. Then she warmed the water with qi and put it in front of Yin Yan. Yin Yan accepted Mu Liani's clothes with a red face and whispered, "Thank you, elder sister. You flatter me. You're a young lady and I'm a servant. It's my duty to serve you," said Mu Liani. In fact, Mu Liani had only seen Yin Yan once or twice. She didn't have much of an impression of the princess of Cloud Sky City. However, even though she disliked Yang Dingtian, she didn't dislike Yin Yan. Because at that time, Yin Yan was alone, carrying the dying Yang Dingtian for nearly 10,000 li. Her face was haggard and full of scars, so she admired her greatly. "Sister, don't talk nonsense," Yin Yan said in a tender voice. "I had an older sister before, Sister Ningning. Now that she's gone, I treat you as my sister." Yin Yan's coquettishness and cuteness were popular among both men and women. Mu Liani's heart softened at her words. Next, the three of them awkwardly sailed north together. However, Yang Dingtian didn't have another chance to steal her. Even though Mu Liani dove into the sea to make space for them, Yin Yan didn't let Yang Dingtian have his way. Although Yin Yan was bold, she couldn't do that kind of thing with Yang Dingtian, under other people's eyes. Yang Dingtian wasn't in a hurry to do that. He was just teasing his beloved wife. Most of the time, he was cultivating with his eyes closed. Previously, he had broken through to the martial honorable realm. However, in order to defeat Song Yu, he had no choice but to put his life on the line. He burned his energy C and turned it back into Xian Qi, causing his cultivation to degenerate. Now he was a 9-star martial ancestor realm. However, he was only half a step away from martial honorable realm. According to Yang Dingtian's current cultivation, he would definitely be able to break through to martial honorable realm before the martial contest. As for Yin Yan, her Xian meridians had completely recovered. So Yang Dingtian thought that she would work hard to cultivate and race against time to make up for the lost time. However, it wasn't like that at all. She was concerned about her stomach all day long. She always felt that there was a baby in her stomach. There was even one time when she said that she wanted to vomit after eating something, because of self-hypnosis. She must be pregnant. The heavens took pity on her. It had been less than 2 days since she went crazy last time. It had been less than 5 days since she lost her virginity for the first time. It would take at least 2 months for her to have a pregnancy reaction. Therefore, Yang Dingtian didn't have much hope for Yin Yan's cultivation. If he wanted her to work hard, he should at least wait until she gave birth. On the other hand, Yang Dingtian was overjoyed by Mu Liani. Previously, Mu Liani kept saying that she wanted to give herself to him. But now she was working very hard to cultivate. Yang Dingtian used the mystic fire and the golden mystic qi to easily cleanse her marrow and meridians at the 3rd level. Then, Yang Dingtian cut off 2 inches of Naga's purple Xian meridians. After melting it with the mystic fire, he wrapped the mystic vein with the mystic fire, which had no offensive properties, and sent it into her qi si to transform her Xian meridians with almost no pain. The lower the grade of the mystic vein, the more effective the Naga's purple Xian meridians were. Just 2 inches of Naga's purple Xian meridians raised the grade of Mu Liani's Xian meridians from the middle 6th grade to the upper 7th grade. Moreover, the remaining mystic qi energy in it directly helped her break through 3 levels, from a 9-star Xian martial warrior to a 2-star Xian martial master. However, when absorbing this Xian qi, Yang Dingtian didn't use the yin-yang devouring Xian technique on her. He only used the mystic fire to burn and refine the fire Xian qi, so Mu Liani still suffered a lot. Just in case, Yang Dingtian still gave her a special elixir of holy water. Speaking of which, this elixir of holy water was really embarrassing. At that time, when Yang Dingtian was healing Yinyan's Xian meridians, he was worried that she would be in pain and in danger, so he directly poured more than half a kilogram of holy water into the bathtub. In the end, Yinyan didn't use it, but Yang Dingtian did. After using it, there was still a lot of holy water energy left in it. Yang Dingtian didn't want to waste it, so he refined the bathtub of water into elixirs. There were dozens of elixirs, and basically, this elixir could only be used by the woman closest to him, because the elixir's composition was too complicated. Other than the holy water, there were also all kinds of things that flowed out when Yang Dingtian and Yinyan were having fun. After Mu Liani took the elixir, Yinyan moved close to her ear and told her the origin of the elixir. Mu Liani blushed and said that she was shameless. Then, when Yinyan wasn't paying attention, she viciously stepped on Yang Dingtian's leg. Just like that, amidst the awkwardness and sweetness, Yang Dingtian returned to the southwest continent after 3.5 days. Right now, there were still 12 days before the martial contest for the Cloud Heaven City Lord position. After returning to the Mu clan docks, Yang Dingtian and Yinyan didn't stop at all, and immediately headed north. Mu Lianqing's side was also fully prepared. After the ship reached the shore, they saw a group of knights by the shore. The leaders were actually Shimin Bao and Shui Hongxiao from the Wooden Sword Castle. When she saw Yang Dingtian, Shui Hongxiao disregarded the seawater and galloped her horse over. She shouted in surprise, "Big brother Yang!" When Yinyan saw the beautiful and wild Shui Hongxiao, she instantly rolled her eyes at Yang Dingtian. At this moment, Shui Hongxiao noticed Shimin Yinyan. She instantly blushed and pulled on the reins. Previously, she heard that Shimin Yinyan was very beautiful, but it was just a rumor. She didn't expect her to be so dazzling after seeing her in person. It even made her feel a little ashamed. Furthermore, she always thought that this young mistress would be high and mighty and bossy. She wouldn't be gentle to Yang Dingtian. In the end, with just one look, she could tell that Shimin Yinyan had extreme gentleness and love for Yang Dingtian. She also had a deep attachment and dependence. It could be said that Shimin Yinyan's feelings for Yang Dingtian were much stronger than hers. Instantly, she felt disappointed and happy for Yang Dingtian. Perhaps only such a girl is worthy of big brother Yang. A girl like me is just wishful thinking. In a short period of time, many thoughts flashed through Shui Hongxiao's mind. Yang Dingtian first greeted Shui Hongxiao, "Little sister." Then he said to Shimin Bao, "Big brother Bao, why are you here?" "Junior brother Yang, Martial Uncle Mu was worried that the large group would affect your speed, so he left for the north 2 days ago. My master led many martial uncles from the Wooden Sword Castle to escort him. He was worried that no one would receive you when you returned, so he sent us here to wait for you," Shimin Bao said. Yang Dingtian's heart warmed. Although Li Guanong was a man of few words, and was like an old farmer, he was really kind. But he was really warm-hearted. He had only met her once before, but he had helped her time and time again. Especially during this period of time, the Heavenly Phoenix Pavilion had been causing trouble for the Wooden Sword Castle. This kind of kindness was really hard to repay. Yang Dingtian didn't say anything. He cupped his hands at Shimin Bao and said to Yinyan, "Yinyan, this is Big Brother Bao from the Wooden Sword Castle, and this is Little Sister Shui Hongxiao from the Wooden Sword Castle." "Big Brother Bao, Little Sister Shui Hongxiao," Yinyan called out intimately. As for Mu Liani, there was no need to introduce her. She was very familiar with Shui Hongxiao and had a good relationship with her. The few of them quickly packed their luggage and mounted their horses. They used their fastest speed to head north and catch up with Mu Lianqing and Li Guanong's large group. They didn't even return to the Mu clan docks. The few of them rode on their horses, and when they passed by the Mu clan docks, they realized that the place had been burned into ruins. "Uncle Mu personally burned it," Shui Hongxiao said. Seeing that Mu Liani's eyes were a little red, Yang Dingtian said gently, "Liani, I'm sorry. I caused your home to be burned down." Mu Liani shook her head forcefully and said, "From today onwards, Cloud Heaven City is my home. You and young lady Yinyan are my family, Yes, we are going to take back our home, our Cloud Heaven City, Yang Dingtian yelled out. Then, the group didn't look at the burned Mu Clan docks anymore, and sped up towards the north. Big Brother Bao, are your injuries better? Yang Dingtian asked. Almost, Shiman Bao said. It's all thanks to Madame Shiman's elixir. Yang Dingtian nodded. He felt that after leaving the southwest continent and sailing on the sea, he was going to cut off 2 inches of Naga's purple mystic meridians and use the mystic fire to melt it before giving it to Shiman Bao to reconstruct his mystic meridians. Of course, it would be very painful for Shiman Bao to reconstruct his mystic meridians. But Shiman Bao was a man and shouldn't be afraid of this pain. Recently, is the Sky Wind Pavilion still so domineering towards the Wooden Sword Castle? Yang Dingtian asked. Shiman Bao nodded and said, It is getting more and more prosperous. It almost doesn't give my Wooden Sword Castle a place to stay. He definitely had to help with this matter, but it had to wait until after the City Lord's Martial Contest. Right now, the most important thing was the City Lord's Martial Contest. Everything else had to be placed behind. Just like this, the group rode crazily and constantly changed horses. After 3 days, they traveled over 2,000 miles and caught up with the large group, led by Li Guanong and Mu Lianqing. Chapter 321. Greetings to Young Lord. Following Mu Lianqing's command, the 500 fully armored cavalrymen knelt down in unison. Yang Dingtian looked at this group of people with fiery eyes. This was an army that Mu Lianqing had spent tens of years to build. Neat armors and neat weapons. Perhaps their cultivation levels weren't high. In fact, their salutes weren't even very neat. However, they were his men and belonged to his army. Yang Dingtian could see that even though they had traveled 1,000 miles, their morale was still very high. This was because most of them were wandering warriors or bandits from the southwest continent. For example, Nyodali, who was pursuing Mu Liani, had recruited all the youths in the mountain stronghold. This group of people all had lowly statuses and were looked down upon by the world. Mu Liani used Yang Dingtian's identity to recruit them and gave them a glorious background. Yang Dingtian's identity was a pressure even for a prodigy like Qin Huayu. Although Cloud Heaven City was now under the control of Yang Yan and Shiman Ju, Yang Dingtian still had a righteous heart. However, Yang Dingtian had always been righteous. He was Shiman Wuya's designated successor, the successor of Cloud Heaven City's lord, and the direct disciple of Dongfang Minmi. No matter which identity it was, to this group of low-level warriors, he was a legendary existence. To be able to become Yang Dingtian's army was an absolute honor to them. Yang Dingtian looked at the 500 warriors kneeling on the ground and couldn't help but feel his blood boiling. He rode on his horse and shouted, If you all follow me, your future path will be very difficult and dangerous. I can't promise you anything. What glory, wealth, or power? I can't promise you anything. I can only say one thing. As long as you are my brothers, I will never abandon you. Die for young lord. 500 warriors shouted with all their might. They looked at Yang Dingtian with eyes filled with fanaticism and worship. Ever since Mu Lianqing recruited these 500 warriors, other than training them, he only had one thing to do in his free time. That was to constantly instill Yang Dingtian's invincibility, and to constantly instill in them the kind of genius and glory that Yang Dingtian was. Yang Dingtian was not only the successor of Cloud Sky City, but he was also the successor of Yinyang School appointed by the world's #1 expert, Dongfang Minmi. If he followed Yang Dingtian today, he would become the most glorious supreme warrior in the world tomorrow. He might even become a direct descendant of the Yinyang School. Wherever he went, he would be dazzling and envied by others. All the warriors present were familiar with Yang Dingtian's deeds. It took him less than a month to advance from an enlightener to a mystic warrior. When he was still a mystic martial warrior, he defeated the Qin clan's young master, Qin Xiaobai, who was 1 rank higher than him. When he was still a mystic martial warrior, he had defeated the Raging Flames Castle's young lord, Tuoba Yi, who was 2 ranks higher than him, and even possessed a mystic skill. In fact, Mu Lianqing had even fabricated many glorious achievements that Yang Dingtian didn't have. The most exciting thing was that a year ago, Yang Dingtian was only a mystic martial warrior. But now, he was going up north to fight for the Cloud Sky City Lord's position. And his opponent was a martial supreme expert. In short, in the hearts of all the warriors, Yang Dingtian was omnipotent and could create impossible miracles. They didn't emphasize Yang Dingtian's cultivation, but they always emphasized Yang Dingtian's invincible legend. Yang Dingtian pays his respects to martial uncle Li. Yang Dingtian and Yinyan bowed deeply. Gratitude wasn't something that could be expressed with words. Yang Dingtian didn't express his gratitude towards Li Guanong's kindness. Nephew's cultivation has improved by leaps and bounds. It is truly delightful and fascinating. Li Guanong helped Yang Dingtian up with a smile. Mu Lianqing went forward and continued to kneel as he greeted. Old slave Mu Lianqing pays his respects to young lord and young mistress. Yang Dingtian and Yinyan were helpless, and could only allow Mu Lianqing to help him up after he finished kneeling. Then, the husband and wife both knelt down and greeted. Yang Dingtian, Shimin and Yinyan pay their respects to Uncle Mu. After a short chat, Mu Lianqing said, "Young lord, should we take a break or continue heading north?" Yang Dingtian looked at Li Guanong. "Everything will be up to young Lord Yang," Li Guanong said. "Continue heading north," Yang Dingtian said. "Yes," Mu Lianqing shouted. "All warriors continue heading north." Then, the group of over 500 people rode 2 horses each and continued heading north. Just like this, the group didn't stop and continued heading north. 2 days later, they had traveled over 1,000 miles. Right now, they were only 300 miles away from the southwest continent's northern coast. There were already 3 large ships waiting there. As long as the group arrived, they would use their fastest speed to head north and reach the northwest continent in less than 3 days. There, Shimin Lai's Black Blood Cavalry would receive them. After another 2,000 miles, they would reach Cloud Heaven City. For the past few days, the 500 cavalrymen had frantically traveled over 3,000 to 4,000 miles and were already exhausted. Even though they had avoided the Sky Phoenix Pavilion and Raging Flames Castle's sphere of influence, they were still cautious. If a large force were to launch a sneak attack, it would be a disaster for this young and inexperienced army. "Young lord, we will try our best to avoid large cities and towns along the way. However, there is no way we can avoid the city in front," Mu Lianqing said. "Unless we are willing to take a detour of 1,000 miles and take those crisscrossed mountain paths, we will have to pass by Luofeng City." Yang Dingtian nodded. Luofeng City was considered a large city in the southwest continent's savage land and had a population of around 200,000 to 300,000. It was the gathering place for the surrounding 2,000 miles and was also the only small plain in this region. Therefore, unless they took a detour of 1,000 miles, they wouldn't be able to go around this city. This city didn't belong to any major force and was considered a commercial and trading city. It had accumulated quite a bit of wealth, but its martial Dao force was relatively weak. It was considered a neutral city. The merchant groups here were willing to serve any force. Therefore, until now there wasn't a major force that had a hand in this city. After all, in this world, money wasn't important. Martial Dao resources were everything. "Uncle Mu, who is in charge of Luofeng City?" Yang Dingtian asked. "The full power of this city is in the hands of the Merchant Association. There are a few influential merchants who take turns to be the city lord of Luofeng City," Mu Lianqing said. "Then do they allow a large-scale army to pass through?" Yang Dingtian asked. "As long as they pay," Mu Lianqing said. "When they pass through the city, they have to put down all their weapons. A few days ago, I had already sent an envoy to greet them and gave them a large amount of bribes. They have allowed us to pass through. Of course, we are using the name of a mercenary group." Yang Dingtian nodded. When they were 30 miles away from Luofeng City, Yang Dingtian gave the order to stop and let the 500 over cavalrymen set up camp. He then changed his appearance and brought Mu Lianqing to Luofeng City. When they arrived at Luofeng City, Yang Dingtian felt something was wrong. The city gates were closed, and there were many warriors patrolling on the city walls. They were fully armed and looked as though they were facing a great enemy. Furthermore, Yang Dingtian noticed that the city walls were stained with blood. Yang Dingtian went forward and cupped his hands. Fierce Horse Mercenary Group requests to enter Luofeng City. At the same time, Mu Lianqing lifted up a chest which was filled with gold coins. There were at least a few thousand of them, and it was more than enough to pay for the passage. Go away. From today onwards there is no Luofeng City. There is only South Continent City. On the city gates, there were already warriors shouting, "No armed force is allowed to enter." When Yang Dingtian saw the person on the city gates, he was instantly astonished. It was actually someone he knew. Furthermore, he was once Yang Dingtian's subordinate. Back when Yang Dingtian was impersonating as Shen Lang, he was the commander of Qin Mengli's guards. Right now, the person on the city walls was a subordinate of Yang Dingtian's cavalry leader. Could it be that the northwest Qin city had already encroached on Luofeng City? Could Qin Mengli be in the city right now? Chapter 322. Qin Mengli's husband was the nominal city lord of West Continent City. At this time, Luofeng City had changed to South Continent City. It was obvious that it had fallen into the hands of the Northwest Qin family. The Qin family had indeed sounded the horn to occupy the Southwest Continent. Yang Dingtian couldn't help but frown deeply. Once the Qin family started to move, they would be able to sweep through the Southwest Continent. Qin family didn't even need to show themselves. At this time, the Northwest Qin family had two hired thugs. The legal side had the Sky Wind Pavilion, while the underworld had the Raging Flames Castle. In the Southwest Continent, there was no power that could stop them. They couldn't even withstand a finger from the Qin family. What the Qin family needed to do was to build a good relationship with the upper echelons of the Tiando League, so that the many big shots of the Tiando League would turn a blind eye to their actions. Of course, the Qin family and Dongfang Bingling had completely fallen out. However, it didn't mean that Dongfang Bingling would stop Qin Wanchou's expansion. This woman worshipped the most direct power. She wouldn't put her thoughts on these political struggles. There was only one thing she wanted to do, and that was to become stronger, stronger, and stronger. When her cultivation surpassed Qin Wanchou's, she would directly go to Qin City and chop off the heads of Qin Wanchou, Qin Huayu, and the others. Yang Dingtian directly took out a purple gold coin, which was equivalent to 100 gold coins. He offered it and said, "Officer, you have worked hard to defend the city. May I ask who is in charge of the South Continent City?" The cavalry leader's eyes lit up, but he suppressed his greed and coldly shouted, "Why are you asking so much? Leave immediately, or we will shoot arrows." After speaking, he raised his hand high and dozens of crossbows behind him were aimed at Yang Dingtian. Yang Dingtian obviously wasn't afraid of these crossbows, but he frowned and took a few steps back. With so much money, the cavalry leader was very tempted, but he still suppressed his greed. It was obvious that it wasn't that he didn't want to take it, but that he didn't dare to. It seemed that the Qin family was serious about taking over the southwest region. Yang Dingtian placed the purple gold coin on the ground and asked, "Sir, when will South Oblast City open its gates?" Whoosh 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 whoosh. What answered Yang Dingtian were dozens of sharp arrows that shot directly at Yang Dingtian's feet. "What should we do?" Mu Lianqing asked. Yang Dingtian frowned and said, "Let's go back first. We'll discuss it later." Soon, Yang Dingtian returned to the camp and held a small meeting to explain the situation. "What should we do next?" Mu Lianqing asked. "Should we bribe or forcefully attack?" Yang Dingtian shook his head and said, "Bribery is useless. The Northwest Qin city doesn't lack money. If I'm not mistaken, the person in charge of Luofeng City this time is a direct descendant of the Qin city. He has an astronomical amount of money. Even if we bribe him with all our belongings, it's useless. Could it be that the only way out is to attack by force?" Yin Yin said, "We don't know how many soldiers there are in the city, how many experts there are, and who is in charge. Forcefully attacking won't work either." Yang Dingtian said, "We have too few people, and this is a newly formed army. If we forcefully attack, the losses will be too great. Then what should we do? We are already pressed for time, and we can't afford to waste a single day." Muliani said. Yang Dingtian said. Perhaps the highest commander in Luofeng City is an old friend of mine. Today, I will sneak into Luofeng City and investigate before making any plans. Yinyan said. Husband, that is someone from the northwest Qin city. She is definitely an enemy and not a friend. Yang Dingtian said. The situation between this person and me is very complicated. I have to confirm if it is her. If it is her, we can pass through Luofeng City without wasting any effort. Li Guanong suddenly said. Nephew, actually, you can leave the army first and bring young Lady Shimen back to Cloud Heaven City. Brother Mu and I will lead the team and take a detour. Even though we will be late by a few days, it doesn't matter. Therefore, you don't have to enter the city and take this risk. Yang Dingtian said. If it is during normal times, I will definitely do so. But now, the northwest Qin city is marching southward. I don't know how many forces they have sent into the southwest continent. But according to my estimation, it could be 30,000, 50,000, or even more. Therefore, it is a foregone conclusion that the Qin city will sweep through the southwest continent. Our 500-man army will be in great danger and might be wiped out at any moment. The Qin city will definitely not allow the southwest continent to have an organized military force. Unless we are willing to scatter these 500 men, it will be very dangerous. I even feel that there are many roaming cavalrymen monitoring our surroundings. That's right. Today, we have seen dozens of scouts scouting our camp. Shimenbao suddenly spoke. Yang Dingtian said. Time is of the essence. Therefore, I have to bring this team out of the southwest continent in the shortest time possible. Otherwise, it will be too dangerous. Mu Lianqing said. I originally hoped to strengthen young lord's forces, but I didn't expect to bring such a huge trouble to young lord. Why don't we scatter them? Don't say that, Uncle Mu. As long as they follow me, they will be my brothers. I will never abandon them. Yang Dingtian said. Immediately after, Yang Dingtian stood up and said, All right, time is of the essence. I will immediately sneak into Luofeng City and meet with their supreme commander. I will go with you, Li Guanong said. No, Uncle Li. You have the highest cultivation level among everyone here. Stay at the camp and protect the team. I will go alone. Yang Dingtian said. I believe that no one in the entire Luofeng City can stop me. Li Guanong didn't argue as he nodded and said, Then nephew, take care. Yang Dingtian dressed up a little and took advantage of the night to activate the Void Spirit Mystic Wings. He executed the flight technique and flew to 1,000 meters in the sky before flying towards Luofeng City. Yang Dingtian's flight speed was very fast. In just a few minutes, he was above Luofeng City. At this time, there were flying patrols above Luofeng City. However, it was impossible for them to discover Yang Dingtian. Yang Dingtian easily entered the city. After entering the city, Yang Dingtian discovered two important things. The first was that Luofeng City had completely turned into a large military camp. The original population of 200,000 to 300,000 had decreased by more than half. There were military camps everywhere in the city. At this time, the entire city was brightly lit. Countless troops were in formation, as if they had just arrived at Luofeng City. Moreover, there was an endless stream of troops entering Luofeng City from the north. These troops were undoubtedly shipped from the northwest Qin city from the north. Yang Dingtian roughly calculated that there were about 30,000 troops in the city at this time. Moreover, there was an endless stream of troops entering from the north. Yang Dingtian simply continued to fly north and continued to observe. Nearly 200 miles of road. There were troops advancing with torches in their hands. They were continuously entering Luofeng City. On the northern coastline, there were hundreds of large ships anchored. Countless military equipment, food, and troops were continuously disembarking. After the troops were organized at the empty space on the pier, they neatly headed south. No wonder Luofeng City's gates were closed. They didn't even dare to accept Yang Dingtian's bribes. It turned out that Qin City wanted to build Luofeng City into a large military camp to conquer the southwest continent. The troops in the city, the troops on the road, and the troops that had just disembarked were close to 100,000 people. Yang Dingtian sucked in a breath of cold air. This was the pressure of Mount Tai. Any forces that tried to resist would be instantly turned into dust. It seemed that after falling out with Dongfang Bingling, Qin Wanshou had increased the speed of his expansion. Otherwise, 30 to 40,000 troops would be enough to conquer the southwest continent. Now Qin Wanshou had actually sent 100,000 troops. Moreover, more troops were continuously disembarking. It seemed that Qin Wanshou wanted to use the fastest speed to conquer the entire southwest continent. The fall of the southwest continent was already unstoppable. It was only a matter of time before the entire southwest continent fell into Qin City's hands. Yang Dingtian's heart instantly sank. Qin City was Cloud Sky City's greatest enemy. However, this enemy was so strong that it was completely unimaginable. All of Cloud Sky City's troops added together barely exceeded 10,000 people. Even if they gathered all of the troops in the territory, it wouldn't exceed 30 to 40,000. In order to conquer the southwest continent, Qin City had sent out more than 100,000 troops. Even if he obtained the final victory in the martial arts competition for the position of the city lord, he would have to face the monstrous power of northwest Qin City. If they used force, Cloud Sky City really didn't have much power to resist. It seemed that there was only one reason why Cloud Sky City didn't completely fall. That was because of Shiman Wuya, a Grandmaster-level expert. In this world, a Grandmaster-level expert was like a nuclear bomb on Earth. They were completely strategic weapons. With a Grandmaster-level expert, even if Northwest Qin City was 10 times stronger than Cloud Sky City, they wouldn't dare to completely fall out with them. Of course, under the same principle, Qin City had Qin Wanshou a Grandmaster. Even if they completely fell out with Dongfang Bingling, Yinyang School wouldn't dare to directly fall out with Qin City. Of course, these were all matters for the future. The most important thing now was how to get his 500 troops out of the danger of being annihilated. Could it be that he really had to completely disband this army on the spot? Previously, Yang Dingtian was still fantasizing that the highest commander in Luofeng City was Qin Mengli. This way, he could still use their old friendship to ask Qin Mengli to let these 500 people pass. But now that he saw that Qin City had sent more than 100,000 troops into the southwest continent, Yang Dingtian didn't dare to fantasize about Qin Mengli being the highest commander. Even Qin Huayu wasn't qualified to be the highest commander in this army. Currently, the highest commander in Luofeng City was most likely Qin Wanshou himself. Now Yang Dingtian's 500 troops were really facing a disaster of annihilation. Previously, Yang Dingtian was still fantasizing about sneaking into Luofeng City Lord's mansion to see Qin Mengli. Now he definitely couldn't have this thought anymore. Currently, the people living in the City Lord's mansion were either Qin Wanshou or Qin Wanshou's younger brother, Qin Zheng. At the very least, it would be Qin Huayu. If Yang Dingtian were to enter, he would be walking right into a trap. Furthermore, Yang Dingtian's 500 troops were already on the verge of annihilation. Originally, Yang Dingtian thought that Luofeng City only had a few thousand troops. If that was the case, Yang Dingtian's 500 men might still have a chance to catch a breather. From the looks of it, the enemy could simply extend a finger and crush this 500-men army. Therefore, there was only one thing that Yang Dingtian had to do now. That was to use the fastest speed to return to the campsite and get Mu Lianqing and Li Guanong to lead the troops back to the south. The faster the better. Once they reached the southernmost point, they would immediately board the ship and make a 20,000-mile detour back to Cloud Heaven City. They had to abandon everything and use the fastest speed to return to the south. Once the enemy caught up, it would be a complete annihilation. Therefore, Yang Dingtian used the fastest speed to fly back to the campsite. When Yang Dingtian flew 300 miles and returned to the campsite, he couldn't help but feel a chill in his heart. This was because his 500 troops were surrounded. Furthermore, they were surrounded from all directions without a single gap. A total of 10,000 troops had surrounded Yang Dingtian's 500 cavalrymen in a 5-mile radius. Yang Dingtian's 500 cavalrymen had a very smooth journey. This was because in the entire southwest continent, As long as they avoided the Raging Flames Castle and Sky Wind Pavilion sphere of influence, no matter how many troops passed by, no one would bother about them. This was because there were too many ownerless lands in this piece of land. Who knew that they would encounter the Qin city's army entering the southwest? Yang Dingtian took a deep breath and quickly landed in the center of the campsite. Young lord, you are finally back. We have been surrounded. The number of troops surrounding us is uncountable. Mu Lianqing said. At this moment, Yang Dingtian's 500 cavalrymen had all mounted their horses and pulled out their spears and swords, preparing for battle. Yin Yin, Mu Liani, and Shui Hongxiao were also fully armed. Nephew, what should we do? Li Guanong asked. Yang Dingtian replied. Marshal Uncle Li, we have been surrounded by 10,000 troops. The northwest Qin city has wantonly invaded the southwest. More than 100,000 troops have already landed and are continuously entering Falling Wind City. The southwest continent cannot be protected. Li Guanong was instantly shocked. He originally thought that the Raging Flames Castle had sent a few thousand men to surround his 500 men. Who knew that the Qin city had actually sent more than 100,000 troops into the southwest? The southwest continent could not be protected. Then what should we do now? We have to make a decision as soon as possible, Li Guanong said. Yang Dingtian replied. The troops will be in the shape of a sharp knife. Marshal Uncle Li, Uncle Mu, and Big Brother Bao will be the tip of the knife. We will charge towards the south and tear open an opening. We will not stop, and will charge towards the south until we reach the most difficult seaside. We will then take the boat and take a detour of 20,000 miles to return to Cloud Heaven City. Li Guanong's expression changed. Mu Lianqing and I will lead this troop and charge out. You will bring young Lady Shimen and immediately fly towards the north and return to the northwest continent. Otherwise, when the battle starts, you will be entangled and will definitely delay the city lord marshal contest. Yang Dingtian replied. Let us lead everyone out of the encirclement first. After he finished speaking, Yang Dingtian ordered the 500 cavalrymen to get into the shape of a sharp knife. He and Li Guanong would be the tip of the knife. They drew out Ah Chao's huge sword and were about to charge towards the south. At this moment, a rider quickly galloped over from the enemy's formation and shouted at Yang Dingtian from afar. Who is the leader of your mercenary group? Yang Dingtian replied. I am. My master invites you over for a chat. That messenger said. Yang Dingtian asked. Who is your master? Seventh young lady Qin. That messenger replied. Seventh young lady Qin? It was really Qin Mingli. Qin Mingli was the youngest among all the siblings. She was the seventh child. Chapter 323. Yang Dingtian slashed with his sword. Immediately, blood flowed from Qin Chichi's neck to her breasts. Qin Chichi didn't beg for mercy. She just stared at Yang Dingtian with a smile that wasn't a smile. Suddenly, 10,000 horses galloped outside, shaking the heavens and the earth. Clang, clang, clang. The sound of swords rubbing against their sheaths could be heard. The candles in the tent were shaking. The entire tent was shaking. 10,000 cavalrymen were like a gale, sweeping in from all directions. The beautiful Qin Chichi just looked at Yang Dingtian with a smile, allowing the blood to flow from her neck. She didn't say anything, didn't do anything. The bright red blood dyed her thin skirt red. 10 minutes later, there was no sound of fighting. Outside it was completely silent. Yang Dingtian slashed with his sword, tearing a large piece of the tent apart. Outside, the 10,000 cavalrymen had already disappeared without a trace. A few hundred meters away, Yang Dingtian's 500 brothers were safe and sound. Even their swords had been sheathed, but their faces were filled with confusion and confusion. Qin Chichi's 10,000 cavalrymen had completely retreated. The sound of 10,000 horses galloping wasn't an attack, but a retreat. The sound of swords rubbing against their sheaths wasn't a sword being unsheathed, but a sword being sheathed. Yang Dingtian looked at Qin Chichi and said, After the incense burns out, if the 10,000 cavalrymen don't receive orders, they will all retreat. They won't attack, right? That's right, Qin Chichi said. Then why did you say that after the incense burns out, as long as you don't use the commander's seal, the 10,000 cavalrymen will kill all my men? Yang Dingtian asked. I'm just messing with you to test you, Qin Chichi said. Aren't you afraid that I'll really kill you? Yang Dingtian asked. Didn't you not kill me? Qin Chichi said. At this moment, half of her skirt was dyed red with blood. Due to the excessive blood loss, her delicate body was on the verge of collapse. Her red lips were turning white and dry, but she still had a smug and mocking smile on her face. You're crazy, Yang Dingtian said. I've already told you that I'm crazy, Qin Chichi said. Not only am I crazy, but I'm also a liar. This woman was really a lunatic, using her own life to amuse others. You are a demon woman. Compared to Dugu Fengwu, you are even more of a demon woman. Yang Dingtian said. Thank you for the compliment, Qin Chichi replied. Then why did you send 10,000 cavalrymen to stop me and meet me today? Yang Dingtian asked. Just to pass the time, Qin Chichi replied. You won't kill me? Yang Dingtian asked. Not now, Qin Chichi said. I'm just here to meet you and have a chat. I'm also here to see who you are. And the result? Yang Dingtian asked. What a disappointment. Qin Chichi pursed her lips. You know that I'll sweep through the entire northwest continent after taking over the southwest. When that time comes, your Cloud Heaven City will be my #1 target to eliminate. Half a year later, you will be my greatest opponent in the northwest continent. Thus, I'm here to test your foundation in advance. And the result? Yang Dingtian asked again. What a disappointment. Qin Chichi said. Kid, half a year later, I will do my best to eliminate your Cloud Heaven City. I'm a very shameless woman and will do anything. So just you wait. Either you wash your neck clean and wait for me to kill you, or you kneel down and surrender. Even if there are 10 of you, you won't be a match for me. Yang Dingtian turned a deaf ear. But you still have a way, and that is to kill me now. Rape me first before killing me, Qin Chichi suggested seriously. Yang Dingtian still ignored her. This woman was a lunatic, and there was no point in talking to her. Kid, you can leave now, Qin Chichi said. You're not going to kill me now? Yang Dingtian asked. No, I didn't plan to kill you in the first place. After I'm done with my entertainment, I'll let you go, Qin Chichi said. You're still very useful. Of course I can't kill you now. Then, she walked to the corner of the tent, lifted the carpet, and took out a purple crystal token. She handed it to Yang Dingtian. Here for you. This token is only valid for 3 days. You can use it to pass through Luofeng City. When you reach the northern coast, you can gather ships to send you north. A few hundred meters ahead, I've prepared 553 people's armor for you. You can pretend to be Qin City's army. After she finished speaking, Qin Chichi clapped her hands. Suddenly, a gust of wind blew. A black shadow stopped in an instant and silently entered the tent. She took out an elixir and stuffed it into Qin Chichi's mouth. Then she drew a line across Qin Chichi's neck. Instantly, the blood on Qin Chichi's body froze. The black shadow waved her hand, and all the blood and ice shattered and flew out. The blood on Qin Chichi's body disappeared without a trace, leaving behind a faint red mark on her neck. Then, the black shadow carried Qin Chichi and walked out. Qin Chichi waved her snow-white hand and said to Yang Dingtian, Little man, I'll see you in half a year or never. I wish you success in obtaining the position of Cloud Heaven City Lord. Of course, I don't think you'll win the martial arts contest. You have an 80% chance of losing. Qin Huayu left you a very powerful secret weapon. Even if you become the Cloud Heaven City Lord in the end, that's not bad. Wait for me to torture you until you wish you were dead. Qin Chichi said sweetly. How old was she? She actually called Yang Dingtian little man? Little man, don't lose the martial arts contest for the position of the city lord. Don't disappoint me. Then, the black shadow woman carried Qin Chichi and left silently. From the beginning to the end, the black shadow woman didn't even look at Yang Dingtian. It was as if he didn't exist. However, Yang Dingtian clearly knew that this black shadow woman was a master-class expert. She was Qin Chichi's personal bodyguard. Just now, Yang Dingtian wanted to kill Qin Chichi, But it was all a pipe dream. Qin Chichi left, leaving behind an enchanting fragrance. Demonic woman! Demonic woman! From now on, Dugafengwu could no longer be called a demonic woman. Compared to Qin Chichi, Dugafengwu was as pure as a child. She was Qin Wanchou's daughter? Yang Dingtian didn't believe it. Qin Wanchou might be cunning, but how could he give birth to such a vixen-like daughter? Half a year later, he would meet this demonic woman again. When that time came, it would be a battle to the death. Half a year later, this demonic woman would attack Cloud Heaven City. Of course, the prerequisite was that Yang Dingtian could successfully obtain the position of Cloud Heaven City Lord. Otherwise, he wouldn't even have the qualifications to be this demonic woman's opponent. Demonic woman, when that time comes, I will really make you wish you were dead, Yang Dingtian said viciously and left the tent. When he returned to the main camp, countless admiring and strange gazes looked at Yang Dingtian. That was because many people had seen it clearly just now. A black-clothed woman walked out while carrying a delicate and beautiful woman. That beautiful woman was weak and pale, as though she had been ravaged. The most terrible thing was that the black-clothed woman got rid of all the blood stains on Qin Chichi's body, leaving only a piece on her dress. When the black-clothed woman entered the tent, her speed was very fast, and no one could see her clearly. But when she carried Qin Chichi and left, she walked very slowly, and Yang Dingtian's men saw it clearly. At this moment, Yang Dingtian wouldn't be able to clear his name, even if he jumped into the Yellow River. Everyone's mind was engraved with an iron-like fact. Yang Dingtian used his beauty to subdue the enemy's owner, Qin Chichi, both physically and mentally. He took the initiative to release his mortal enemy, Yang Dingtian, and his 500 men. At this moment, the admiration of the 500 brothers for Yang Dingtian was like a torrential river that flowed endlessly. What did it mean to subdue the enemy without fighting? What did it mean to break the enemy's plan? That was it. Moreover, the enemy's owner was a soul-stirring beauty that could make one's heart tremble. Oh my God! However, the 500 brothers were still worried. After all, young Master Yang Dingtian's wife was here. In front of his wife, he made another woman bleed until she couldn't walk. Although he was brave and honorable, he would still be angry, especially since the other woman's beauty was inferior to hers. Yin rushed forward on her horse. Everyone's heartstrings were pulled, waiting for the Cloud Sky City's princess to fly into a rage. Brother, you've worked hard, Yin said gently. Suddenly, everyone fell down and looked up at the sky speechlessly. Was there any justice in this? Her husband had conquered another beauty, and he had done it in front of everyone's eyes. Everyone knew about it. Not only was his wife not angry, but she even said that her husband had worked hard. For a man to do this, he was forcing other men to commit suicide. Yin obviously wasn't acting. In fact, she could tell that nothing had happened between Yang Dingtian and the seductive vixen. She saw Yang Dingtian's deep helplessness. Husband, is she difficult to deal with? Yin asked. She will be Cloud Sky City's most dangerous enemy, Yang Dingtian said. You couldn't kill her just now? I think her martial arts are very weak, Yin said. I can't kill her, Yang Dingtian said. Even if she doesn't have the strength to truss a chicken, she will destroy Cloud Sky City in half a year. She will bring more power than she has today. Then what should we do? Yin asked. Powerful, 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 Yang Dingtian said. Then, Yin felt that the atmosphere was a little heavy. She smiled at Yang Dingtian and said, maybe we should be obedient to Dongfang Bingling and coax her to kill this little vixen. Yin clapped her hands and said, good idea. Even if you have to sacrifice your body for Dongfang Bingling, I won't mind. Then, 3,000 meters ahead, they found 553 sets of armor. They were all Qin City's army uniforms. Not one more, not one less. It was obvious that Qin Chichi knew the details of Yang Dingtian's team very well. Then, Yang Dingtian was even more surprised to find that every set of armor had a name written on it. After putting it on, everyone's armor fit very well. Qin Chichi, this demoness, knew the situation of his team like the back of her hand. She almost knew everything about them. Suddenly, Yang Dingtian felt that this woman was even more dangerous and scary. Then, when Yang Dingtian brought his team of 500 people to Luofeng City, he only showed his token. As expected, they entered the city and left without a hitch. 3 hours later, the team of 500 people arrived at the seaside and successfully obtained 3 large ships. 2.5 days later, Yang Dingtian successfully arrived at the northwest continent. Then, the team of 500 people madly rushed and left Qin City's territory. 1 day later, Yang Dingtian brought the team of 500 people and arrived 30 li away from Wind Cloud Castle. In front of them, a ball of flame was rushing over. It was Madame Shimen. She brought her team to welcome Yang Dingtian and her daughter. Chapter 324. Bower. From afar, Madame Shimen opened her arms and ran towards Yinyan. She then hugged her tightly. It had already been more than a year since Madame Shimen last saw her daughter, and she had long been worried sick about her daughter. After hugging Yinyan, she didn't let go. Everyone stopped. Yang Dingtian stood at the side and watched as Yinyan and her mother hugged and cried. In the end, Madame Shimen released her arms and hugged Yang Dingtian as well, hugging him and Yinyan together. After Madame Shimen finished crying, Mu Lianqing and Mu Liani went forward and knelt down to greet her. Old slave Mu Lianqing greets Madame. Servant Mu Liani greets Madame. Madame Shimen quickly went forward to help the two of them up. Mu Lianqing and Madame Shimen hadn't seen each other for 20 years. Mu Lianqing sobbed and said, Old slave earnestly requests Madame to let old slave and my daughter return to Cloud Heaven City. You are an old friend. Of course, I hope you are by my side. Madame Shimen smiled and said, However, I am a housewife. Cloud Heaven City is under Little Tian's control. Uncle Mu is an elder. With your help, of course, we would like it. Yang Dingtian smiled and said. Next, Madame Shimen, Li Guanong, and the others greeted each other. At this moment, a person in black armor came forward and said to Yang Dingtian, Sir, since you have returned to the northwest continent, I shall return to report. This person was Qin Chichi's trusted aide, and had been following him since Luofeng City to monitor him. Yang Dingtian nodded. This is a letter from my master. The black-armored person handed over a letter. Yang Dingtian opened the letter and read it. Yang Dingtian, I took the southwest, and Qin Huayu took the northwest. I used weapons and Qin Huayu used strategies. I am greedy, and want both the southwest and the northwest. Therefore, you must not let Cloud Heaven City fall into Qin Huayu's hands. This is why I let you leave the southwest continent. Finally, I have 2 sentences for you. The first sentence, your current cultivation is far from enough to win the Grand Martial contest for the position of City Lord. The second sentence, even if you lose the duel, don't fight to the death. Leave your life, I have uses for it. Qin Chichi. This witch's handwriting was very beautiful and graceful, unlike Dongfang Bingling's handwriting which was full of sword qi. After reading the letter, Yang Dingtian became even angrier and colder. First of all, the reason why Qin Chichi let him off in the southwest continent was definitely not because she had some bullshit feelings for him. The reason why she let him, and his 500 brothers, go was because of the internal strife in the northwest Qin city. She and Qin Huayu were fighting for power. This witch had obtained the initiative in the southwest continent, while Qin Huayu had obtained the initiative in the northwest continent. Not only did Qin Chichi want to monopolize the southwest continent, but she also wanted to prevent Qin Huayu from successfully taking over Cloud Heaven City. Hence, she didn't hesitate to go easy on Yang Dingtian and sabotage her own brother, Qin Huayu. Of course, Yang Dingtian was not angry about this, but the utter arrogance in her words. She saw Cloud Heaven City as something in her pocket, and Yang Dingtian as a puppet. She didn't care about him at all. Yang Dingtian came in front of the black-armored man and said in a low voice, "Go back and tell your master something." "Please speak," the black-armored man said. "I will definitely rape her and kill her," Yang Dingtian said. Yang Dingtian insulted his master, but the black-armored man remained expressionless. He nodded and said, "Okay, I will pass the message." Whoosh! Then, a pair of profound chi wings suddenly appeared on the black-armored man's back, and he directly flew towards the south. This person was merely a messenger and a watcher, but he had the cultivation of a martial honorable. It could be seen how powerful the northwest Qin city was. On the way back to Stormy Valley, Yang Dingtian saw that Madame Shimin had brought over 200 people, but they were not the Black Blood Cavalry. Instead, they were a strangely dressed army. Every one of them had a fierce face, naked upper body, and hideous tattoos. He couldn't help but ask, "Madam, where is Brother Shimin lie?" "In Stormy Valley. He has to protect the castle," Madame Shimin said. Yang Dingtian asked, "During this period of time, where have you and the Black Blood Cavalry stayed? Is it this Stormy Valley?" "Since half a year ago, we stopped wandering around and entered Stormy Valley," Madame Shimin said. "All the forces in the Northwest continent are afraid of the Northwest Qin clan. No one dared to take us in, right? Why is this Stormy Valley so daring?" Yang Dingtian asked. Stormy Valley was 3,000 miles away from Cloud Heaven City. It was considered a very strange force. If one said it was big, it was very big. It had a territory of 2,000 miles. If one said it was small, it was very small. The total number of residents in the territory was only 200,000. The reason for this was because it was located in the largest mountain range in the northwest continent, the Sunset Mountain Range. There were lofty mountains and steep ridges everywhere. It was very remote and cold. The people who lived in this mountain range had a very low level of civilization. They had always been regarded as a barbarian tribe. The Sunset Mountain Range ran through half of the northwest continent from east to west and stretched for almost 10,000 miles. It directly separated the north and south of the continent. The south had a pleasant climate. It was humid, rainy and lush. The north was dry and had little rain. Everywhere was cracked by magma and was full of scars. However, because the south was full of hills and the north was flat, the north was more prosperous than the south. This Stormy Valley was the biggest force in the Sunset Mountain Range. It was almost completely isolated from the other forces in the northwest continent. They did not interact with each other. Furthermore, the Stormy Valley was full of hostility towards people outside the mountain range. Therefore, the Stormy Valley was probably the only force that was not afraid of the Northwest Qin city. The Northwest Qin city did not even have the slightest desire to conquer the Stormy Valley. Moreover, the current master of the Stormy Valley, Huaymo, was a violent master. Therefore, basically no one was willing to provoke this solitary barbaric and violent tribe. However, they did not expect Madame Shimin and Shimin Lai to enter Stormy Valley. "We were forced to enter Stormy Valley," Madame Shimin said. Madame Shimin said, "More than half a year ago, Qin City had increased the destruction and annihilation of our Black Blood Cavalry. Our losses were extremely huge. They fled in all directions, but could not find any place to hide. Helpless, we hid in the deep mountains and forests of the Sunset Mountain Range. Only then were we able to survive." This Huaymo Sha did not allow any outsiders to enter his territory. "You entered the Sunset Mountain Range. Were you not afraid that he would kill you?" Yang Dingtian asked. Madame Shimin said, "That day we were chased for thousands of miles. We had nowhere else to go, so we fled to the Sunset Mountain Range. Not long after, we were surrounded by Huaymo Sha's barbarian cavalry. We were supposed to be wiped out, and even eaten alive by these barbarians. In the end," Madame Shimin's face trembled slightly. Then she said softly, "Huaymo Sha found me and seemed to like me very much. He wanted to marry me as his third wife. Therefore he took us in." Yin was shocked. She said softly, "Mother, you must not marry such a big demon." "Of course not." Madame Shimin's face turned red, and she said, "But at that time, the pursuers were right behind us. Seeing that over 1,000 Black Blood Cavalry were about to be wiped out, I couldn't just watch them die, so I could only feign civility with him." "What did you say then?" Yang Dingtian asked hurriedly. "I said, Little Tian is now the head of the family. I need his consent before I can remarry," Madame Shimin said softly. "Ah." Yang Dingtian was shocked. Madame Shimin continued, "This person has a violent personality. He is barbaric and straightforward. At first he was still pretending to pursue me. Later, when he saw that I did not give him any face, he felt that he had been deceived. Therefore he became more and more impatient. A few days ago, he even found an opportunity to kill a brother of the Black Blood Cavalry. Recently, he has even started to put me under house arrest. I am worried that one day he will go berserk. Yang Dingtian asked, "Then why did he allow you to come out again this time?" Madame Shimen said, "At that time, I said that I could only remarry with your consent. Therefore, I told him that you had returned to the northwest continent, and that I was going to pick you up." He was very anxious, so he sent out 200 barbarian cavalrymen. Half of them were to monitor, and the other half were to protect you. He agreed to let me pick you up. Then, Big Brother Shimen Lai and more than 1,000 brothers of the Black Blood Cavalry are all detained in the Stormy Valley? Yang Dingtian asked. Madame Shimen nodded and said, "Therefore, unless you agree to his request, he will definitely let them go. Otherwise, he will definitely not let the Black Blood Cavalry leave. He will even start a massacre." Yang Dingtian could not help but furrow his brows tightly. There were only 4 days left until the martial arts contest for the position of the city lord. However, such a thing happened again. "Little Tian, why don't you go to Cloud Heaven City to participate in the martial arts contest first? Then, you can come and pick us up?" Madame Shimen asked. Yang Dingtian shook his head and said, "Impossible. That lunatic Huemo Sha. If he didn't see me this time, he would have run out of patience and start a massacre on the brothers of the Black Blood Cavalry. Then what should we do? We can't possibly let Mother marry that beast, right?" Yin said. "There will always be a way. I will go and meet him," Yang Dingtian said. Then, Yang Dingtian increased his speed and rushed towards the Stormy Valley. Time was tight. Before going to Cloud Heaven City, Yang Dingtian still had to go to the abandoned mine and the other side of the unfreezing pool. He had to kill the Abyss Lord and dig out the remaining 9,010,000-year-old blood metal metals. He would then use the mystic fire to forge a true soul sword. This way, he would have more confidence in defeating Shimenju. Yang Dingtian's speed was very fast. After 5 hours, he rushed into the Stormy Valley with Madame Shimen. Yin, Mu Lianqing, and the 500 cavalrymen did not enter. The people in the Stormy Valley were all barbaric tribes. If they were to see Yin's absolute beauty, there would be trouble. Furthermore, time was tight. Yang Dingtian had to settle this Huemo Sha within a day, and let him release Madame Shimen and the Black Blood Cavalry. The center of the Stormy Valley was obviously the Stormy Castle. The so-called Stormy Castle was just a bunch of buildings made of huge wood, and was built in a valley. The entire castle had less than 30,000 people living in it. Most of the people inside were topless, had terrifying tattoos, and wore all sorts of things on their noses. Just as Yang Dingtian entered the valley, he heard a thunderous voice. "You are Yang Dingtian? You have the final say on Pep's matters? Alright, I will give you a choice now. Either you let me and Pep consummate tonight, or I will kill all of you and forcefully capture Pep to consummate with her. This should be the owner of the Stormy Valley, Huemo Sha." Chapter 325. Then a gust of hot wind blew over. A group of nearly 1,000 wolf cavalry barbarian soldiers came over. The leader was a giant man who was more than 2 meters tall. The muscles on his body were as taut as mountains. His hair was disheveled, and his body was covered with scars. His face was not very ugly, but his nose was unusually big, which was really abrupt. The beard on his face was like steel needles. In his hand, he held a huge black iron rod, which was at least a few thousand kilograms. It was covered with terrifying barbs. Anyone who was hit by this rod would immediately be badly mutilated. Whether it was his face, facial features, or his entire body, they were all filled with violent killing intent. A timid person would probably be scared out of their wits just by looking at him. When this fire melted, Mosha saw Madame Shimen, his gaze was fiery. After glancing at her beautiful face, his gaze landed on her moving parts without hiding it. His gaze became more and more intense, as if he wanted to directly burn her clothes. After looking for half a minute, Fire Melta Mosha looked at Yang Dingtian and said, You are her son-in-law Yang Dingtian. Can you make the decision for little Beauty Peipei? Yang Dingtian nodded and said, I can make the decision for my mother-in-law. Fire Melt Emosha said, then it's easy. Immediately agree to the marriage between the two of us. From now on, I will be your father-in-law. If you have any problems, I will help you. Let's get married now and consummate our marriage tonight. Yang Dingtian shook his head and said, I'm afraid that's not possible. What's wrong with that? Fire-melting Emosha's shout was like a clap of thunder, almost deafening everyone's ears. My mother-in-law already has a husband, Yang Dingtian said. I know. Didn't he die long ago? Fire Melt Emosha said. It's that Shiman Wuya. He died more than a year ago. Not to mention that he's already dead. Even if he's not dead, I want this woman. Not to mention remarriage. It's normal for a woman to have 2 or 3 husbands. How about this Fire Melt Valley Lord? I've heard that you have a son, and he's your greatest pride. He was once heavily injured by a demonic beast. And not only was his cultivation destroyed, he was even bedridden. Yang Dingtian, I can save your son. As a condition, you have to let Madame Shiman and all the Black Blood Cavalry leave. Yang Dingtian had inquired about this matter on the way. This son who was seriously injured by the demonic beasts was called Zhang Lang. He was the most outstanding son of Emosha, and even his successor. In your dreams, Emosha shouted, I have dozens of sons. If one dies, there will be dozens more. There's only one such beauty in front of me. Do you think I'm stupid enough to trade my son for a beauty? Yang Dingtian was completely speechless. This barbarian king before him was truly unimaginable. Even a vicious tiger wouldn't eat its own cubs. However, this barbarian king actually didn't care about his son's life at all. Yang Dingtian wanted to negotiate again, but Emosha directly raised his huge magic wand and roared, If you say another word, I'll smash you into meat paste. Then in front of everyone, I'll consummate my marriage with your mother-in-law here. Yang Dingtian immediately shut his mouth. Yang Dingtian and Madame Shiman were locked in a room. The two of them were silent. Little Tian, as a great woman, is it because you want to sacrifice yourself to save the lives of more than 1,000 Black Blood Cavalry? Madame Shiman suddenly asked. Yang Dingtian shook his head and said, Of course not. Yes, as a great woman I have to do this. I have to marry that huge man. Madame Shiman said. I've told myself countless times that I should do this, but I just can't do it. I can't do it no matter what. Am I a selfish woman? Yang Dingtian shook his head and said, If you really want to sacrifice yourself, then I can only kill myself in front of Martial Uncle Shiman. I can't even protect his wife. Then what should we do? Madame Shiman said, I'll fake a marriage with him, and then let him release the Black Blood Cavalry. Then. Anyway, I definitely won't let your father-in-law be humiliated. Madame Shiman's meaning was very clear. She was going to fake a marriage, and let Emosha release the people. Then, she would commit suicide to protect her innocence. Although this barbarian king is violent, he's not stupid. He will definitely release the Black Blood Cavalry after getting you. Yang Dingtian said. Now where are the brothers of the Black Blood Cavalry? They are all locked in the dungeon. A few million kilograms of magma can surge out at any time and burn them alive. Shiman Lai is also there. He said that he will leave everything to you, and that he will be together with his brothers. Madame Shiman said. Then, Madame Shiman looked at Yang Dingtian and suddenly said, Little Tian, if I commit suicide after being defiled, do you think I can still save my innocence? Do I still have the face to see your father-in-law? Don't even think about it. Yang Dingtian shouted. Madame Shiman immediately went forward and hugged Yang Dingtian. She cried and said, Then what should I do? I can't just watch more than 1,000 brothers of the Black Blood Cavalry die. They have already sacrificed too much and suffered too much by following me. Mother-in-law, I'll think of a way. I'll think of a way. Yang Dingtian patted Madame Shiman's back gently. At this moment there was a knock on the door. Yang Dingtian helped Madame Shiman sit up and wiped her tears. Then he said, Come in. A maid walked in. Suddenly, a fragrant wind rushed in. Looking at this maid again, Yang Dingtian was slightly stunned. Even Emosha's maid had such an enchanting figure. This maid was wearing beast skin, and most of her beeswax skin was exposed. She had long legs and a slim waist. Her figure was actually very attractive. Looking at this woman's face, she was even more enchanting. Yang Dingtian rarely saw such a seductive woman. She was a pure demon, even more seductive than a fox spirit. Obviously, she was definitely not a maid, and there wasn't such a beautiful and seductive maid. I am Emosha's wife Jiao Liao. This woman introduced herself. Jiao Liao was obviously a barbarian name. What do you want? Yang Dingtian asked. Do you not want your woman to marry Emosha? Jiao Liao asked. This is my mother-in-law, Yang Dingtian said coldly. All right, is it because you don't want your mother-in-law to marry my husband, fire-melting Masha? Snaketail said. Of course not, Yang Dingtian said. Okay, then we have common interests, Jiao Liao said. Yang Dingtian asked. Do you have a way? Yes, there is a very direct way, Jiao Liao said. What way? Yang Dingtian asked. Just kill Emosha, Jiao Liao said. Kill him. He is a master-level powerhouse. Who can kill him? Yang Dingtian said. Of course not. He is just a 9-star martial venerable who brags that he is a master-level powerhouse. Jiao Liao said. Because the grade of his Xian veins is not high enough, he can't become a master. This is his biggest regret. Yang Dingtian's heart skipped a beat. Perhaps he had a way. Chapter 326. Madam, Huorong Emosha is your husband. Although he is going to marry another woman, I don't think this is enough for you to have the intention to kill him. Yang Dingtian said. Therefore, I really want to know the reason why you want to kill him. Yang Dingtian stared at Jiao Liao. Of course, he was afraid that this was a trap, although the possibility was not high. Because Huolong Emosha had the advantage, there was no need to arrange any traps. Reason? Jiao Liao said. You know that Huolong Emosha has the most outstanding son, but he was injured by a monster. As a result, his cultivation is completely destroyed, and he is almost dead. That Zhan Lang is my son. Yang Dingtian nodded and said. Even so, you have no reason to kill Huolong Emosha. Jiao Liao said. Zhan Lang was injured by a monster. It was not an accident, but he was framed. The person who did it was Huolong Emosha. Yang Dingtian was stunned and said. That's impossible. Even a vicious tiger will not eat its cubs. Jiao Liao said. Because he has always suspected that Zhan Lang is not his biological son. Because Zhan Lang is very handsome and delicate, completely different from Huolong Emosha. And do you know who the previous master of Raging Storm Valley was? Who? Yang Dingtian. It's my father, Snake Demon Buddha. Jiao Liao said. After Huolong Emosha married me, he used very dishonorable means to seize the position of Valley Master. Among his many sons, Zhan Lang's performance was very outstanding. Huolong Emosha acted like he liked Zhan Lang, but in fact, he hated him very much. He hated him, and was afraid that one day Zhan Lang would sit on the position of Valley Master. Then, is Zhan Lang Emosha's biological son? Yang Dingtian asked. Jiao Liao shook her head and said. Of course not. That beast Huolong Emosha can't have such a son. Then, Jiao Liao looked at Yang Dingtian. Now, do you believe that I have the reason and determination to kill Fire Emosha? Yang Dingtian nodded and said. All right, since you've decided to work with me to kill Fire's Melt Mosha, what's your plan? Although he is not a master stage expert, he is still a 9-star martial venerable. I am not his match at all. How do you want to kill him? What's your cultivation level? Jiao Liao asked. A 9-star martial ancestor is still half a step away from becoming a martial saint. However, I can defeat a beginner martial saint. Yang Dingtian said. Ah, Madam Shiman said in surprise. Little Tian, you're actually a 9-star martial ancestor? This is too shocking. A year ago, you were only a Xian martial warrior. Yang Dingtian smiled and didn't say anything. He also didn't say that he had already broken through to martial saint, and for some reason dropped to the level of a 9-star martial ancestor. But more than a year ago, Shiman Ju was already a martial saint. You're a 9-star martial ancestor, but you're still not his match. Madam Shiman said. Don't worry, mother-in-law, I still have a lot of confidence, Yang Dingtian said. Then, Yang Dingtian said to Jiao Liao, Madam, I once fought a battle between a martial saint and a half-master stage expert. 4 5-star and above martial saints were barely able to fight 1.5 master stage experts to a draw. This Fire's Melt Mo Sha is a typical half-master stage expert. If you want to kill him, you'll need at least 5 5-star and above martial saints. Then I want to know how many martial saints we have on our side. Jiao Liao said, You're 1, I'm a 3-star martial saint, your mother-in-law is 1, and your Black Blood Cavalry's commander is also 1. We only have 4 martial saints. Madam Shimin said, Although we have 4 martial saints, we don't have a single 5-star martial saint or above. I originally had 1, but because of the poison a year and a half ago, coupled with the fact that I'm mentally exhausted, my cultivation has been regressing. Now I'm barely a 2-star martial saint. Yang Dingtian immediately frowned. 4 2-star and 3-star martial saints against a 9-star martial saint. There was really no chance of winning. In less than 10 minutes, they would all be killed. 4 experts above the martial ancestor stage. Even if they were 1 level higher, the difference in cultivation would be huge. In Yang Dingtian's situation, a 9-star martial ancestor being able to defeat a 2-star martial saint was completely heaven-defying. How many people could have 2 mysterious flames, a peerless treasure sword, the heaven-defying yin-yang qi transformation technique, and even lightning attribute Xian skills? Yang Dingtian had 5 trump cards, which was why he could defeat a martial artist who was 3 or 4 levels higher than him. Madam, we're not strong enough, Yang Dingtian said straightforwardly. That's right. Under normal circumstances, the 4 of us together wouldn't be able to kill him. Jiao Liao said, But I can think of a way to drink his wine and cause his cultivation to deteriorate greatly. If we use poison, we'll be discovered. He'll be very careful. Yang Dingtian said, That's right. This beast looks violent and rough on the surface, but he's actually very cunning. Jiao Liao said, So we have to make him completely believe that he'll drink the poison wine. What do we have to do to make him completely believe? Yang Dingtian asked. That requires your mother-in-law to make a certain sacrifice. Jiao Liao said, At our wedding, the bride and groom have to drink cross-cupped wine. I've already poisoned the wine. First, we have to make your mother-in-law drink it. Then, we can make him completely believe that he'll drink the poison wine. Then, after entering the bridal chamber, I'll suggest that the new madam and I serve him together. However, we have to do it in my room. This is a scoundrel, so he'll definitely agree. I've already prepared a secret passage in my room. You can use the secret passage to enter the room. When the poison takes effect, the 4 of us will work together to kill him. Yang Dingtian looked at Jiao Liao and asked, What kind of poison is this? Is there an antidote? Ghost powder. There's no antidote, Jiao Liao said. What happens after being poisoned? Yang Dingtian asked. Jiao Liao said, After being poisoned, the entire body's profound veins will be surrounded by an evil energy. Then, the profound veins will start to wither, and the cultivation will start to deteriorate until the profound veins are completely withered. Jiao Liao finally looked at Madame Shimin and said, In the end, the poisoned person's meridians will tighten, and their body will wither to only half of its original size. Their cultivation will be completely destroyed. I'm willing, little Tian, Madame Shimin said straightforwardly. I'm willing. My only wish now is for you to take back the Lord of Cloud Heaven City, and quickly have a baby with Yin Yan. As long as these wishes are fulfilled, I can't wait to see your martial uncle Shimin. I'm willing to do this. Yang Dingtian frowned and said, Can you do this? Do something to the cup, and create a mechanism. The wine my mother-in-law drinks is not poisonous. When she drinks it and hands it to Huarong Mo Sha, she can activate the mechanism and release the poison. Impossible, Jiao Liao said. Because I've been raising this cup for a few years. The wine is not poisonous, but the cup is poisonous. I've been waiting for his wedding day for many years. Because every time he gets married, he will use that profound jade cold ice cup. Yang Dingtian's heart instantly turned cold. This Jiao Liao was indeed planning to kill Huarong Mo Sha. Many years ago, she had already started preparing. She raised the poison in the cup, so that Horong Emo Sha could drink it during his wedding. Only this kind of poison is effective on an expert like him. Otherwise, no matter what kind of poison it is, as long as he feels that something is wrong after drinking it, he can immediately use his profound qi to force it out, Jiao Liao said. This ghost powder was of course a strange poison, but it couldn't be compared to the deep-sea Xian poison. Of course, it couldn't be compared to the dark crystal either. Little Tian, let me do it, Madame Shiman said. I'm willing to be poisoned. Yang Dingtian took a deep breath and said, Mother-in-law, actually, even if you are poisoned, I'm 100% sure that I can cure you. Impossible, Jiao Liao said. There's no cure for ghost powder. If I say I can cure it, then I can cure it, Yang Dingtian said. That's right. As long as little Tian says something, even if it's impossible, he can do it, Madame Shiman said. Since it's like this, little Tian, you should agree to this plan even more. Yang Dingtian thought for a while and shook his head. I don't agree. Why? Why? Madame Shiman and Jiao Liao asked in unison. Getting married is a very sacred matter. I don't want you to get married to Horong Emo Sha. If you do that, I won't have the face to see Martial Uncle Shiman, Yang Dingtian said. But this is fake. I'm forced to save people, Madame Shiman said. Yang Dingtian, don't be so pedantic. It's very disappointing, Jiao Liao shouted coldly. Yang Dingtian said, I have another way to deal with Horong Emo Sha. However, I need your cooperation. Really? Jiao Liao asked. How confident are you? 80%. Yang Dingtian said, or even higher. Jiao Liao's beautiful eyes suddenly lit up, and she said, if I had 30% confidence, I would dare to fight with my life on the line, let alone 80%. Tell me the plan. Yang Dingtian moved closer to the two of them, lowered his voice, and told them the entire plan. 3 minutes later, Yang Dingtian finished telling them the entire plan. Jiao Liao's expression became more and more joyful, and she said, you can really weaken him by 30%? Yes, Yang Dingtian said. Okay, then it's settled. This beast is dead for sure this time, Jiao Liao said. Okay, then let's split up. Yang Dingtian said. Mother-in-law, go dress up, and go to Jiao Liao's room to make the necessary preparations. Madame Shiman's beautiful face turned slightly red, and she said, really do we have to do this? Won't it damage your reputation? I don't care. Yang Dingtian then said to Jiao Liao, Madam, I'll give you a token. Think of a way to give it to Shiman Lai, and then think of a way to bring him here. Jiao Liao said, that's easy, I'll do it immediately. After saying that, Jiao Liao took out a thin mask and put it on, turning into an ordinary maid and walked out. When she reached the door, Jiao Liao's beautiful eyes revealed a hint of flirtatiousness, and she said, in order to make it look real, when we do that thing later, it's best to make it look real. Madame Shiman's face turned red, and after she left she muttered, this woman is really shameless. An hour later, 4 women came in with all kinds of clothes in their hands, and they said, we'll help third Madam bathe and change clothes. Madam, please. Yang Dingtian said, please tell Horong Emo Sha that I have something to tell him. Sorry, a middle-aged woman said. Our king said that before he consummates with the new madam, he doesn't want to see you, and he doesn't want to say anything to you. If you let us pass the message, he'll cut out our tongues. Yang Dingtian said, don't worry, if I let you pass the message, not only will you not be punished, but you will also be greatly rewarded. Just tell him that I have a way to let him break through to the master level and become a real master level powerhouse. The middle-aged woman was stunned, and then a light flashed in her eyes. She knew Horong Emo Sha quite well. Hua Emo Sha took out a piece of paper, and with a stroke of his qi, the paper immediately burned. You said that you have a way to help me break through to the master level. Convince me before this paper burns, or I will smash you into a pulp. Hua Emo Sha said coldly, raising a huge magic wand in his hand. Chapter 327. The whole piece of paper burned up in less than 15 seconds. By the time Wuxia finished speaking, half of it had already passed. You have inferior 7th grade Xian veins, so you can't break through to the Grandmaster realm. Yang Dingtian said. Nonsense, do you think I don't know? Wuxia shouted angrily. This was the most painful part in his heart. He was already 60 years old. More than 10 years ago, he had a fortuitous encounter and broke through to the 9-star Martial Venerable. Then, in the past 10 years, he had not made any progress. He didn't know how many pills and treasures he had used, but his cultivation had not made any progress. Because he had inferior 7th grade Xian veins, the 9-star Martial Venerable in front of him was already his limit. At this time, 3/4 of the paper had been burned. I can help you improve the grade of your Xian veins, Yang Dingtian said. At this time, the paper was almost burned up. Wuxia's eyes were filled with murderous intent, and the magic wand smashed towards Yang Dingtian's head, not listening to a word of explanation, because he felt that Yang Dingtian's words were extremely ridiculous. Improve the Xian veins? He had almost never heard of fire-melting masha. He had only seen it in some ancient records. Even a Grandmaster realm expert could not help people improve the grade of their Xian veins, let alone a mere 20-year-old child. The furious Wuxia felt that he had been deceived and teased, and directly wanted to smash Yang Dingtian to death. Yang Dingtian stood there motionless, and directly took out something from his arms. Crystal clear, purple light overflowed. It was only an inch, but it lit up the entire palace. Inside the 1-inch crystal, there seemed to be countless energy flashing, as if countless stars were breathing and shining. Wuxia stopped his hand, and the magic wand stopped an inch away from Yang Dingtian's head. The strong wind directly blew Yang Dingtian's face, and he felt a sharp pain, and blood flowed out from his mouth and nose. Wuxia did not know what it was, but he could see that it was a treasure, and an extremely rare treasure. What is this? Wuxia asked. The Naga Xian veins. Yang Dingtian said. What? Fire melt. Wuxia was immediately shocked and surprised. He looked at Yang Dingtian in disbelief, and said in a trembling voice, The profound veins of the Naga race? Impossible? How did the ancient Naga race's Xian veins end up in your hands? That's impossible. They're demigods. Yang Dingtian said indifferently. I just came out from the Netherworld Sea. Wuxia was stunned. The Netherworld Sea was world famous, especially in the hearts of people like Wuxia. The Netherworld Sea was omnipotent. It possessed all the treasures in the world. It was the most mysterious and powerful place. If it was really the Naga's Xian veins, then it would not be a problem for him to break through to the Master Realm. If there was one thing in the world that could increase the grade of Xian veins, it would undoubtedly be the Naga's Xian veins. This matter was recorded in many ancient books. The Naga's Xian veins were almost the only treasure that could raise the grade of Xian veins. This inch of purple Naga's Xian veins is enough for you to break through to the 8th grade, even if it's only the lower grade. But it's more than enough for you to break through to the Master Realm. Yang Dingtian said indifferently. If you let go of my mother-in-law and all the black blood cavalry, I'll give you this inch of purple Naga's Xian veins. Wuxia's whole body trembled, and his eyes lit up. At this time, he really threw all the beauties aside. Compared to breaking through to the Master Realm, what were beauties? For more than 10 years, his cultivation had not improved at all. Today, he was finally going to break through to the Master Realm. After the ecstasy and excitement, Wuxia's face suddenly revealed an incomparably cunning light, and his palm suddenly opened. Swoosh! An incomparably powerful energy sucked this inch of purple Naga's Xian veins from Yang Dingtian's hand. Wuxia grabbed this inch of purple Naga's Xian veins. His eyes were incomparably infatuated and fanatical. He moved closer and admired it desperately. How is it? Valley Master, do you agree to my deal? Yang Dingtian sneered. Ha 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 ha. Wuxia laughed wildly and said, In your dreams, idiot. I want this purple Naga Xian veins, but your mother-in-law. I'm still going to marry and sleep with her. If you don't want to die, leave immediately and wait for my wedding wine. Otherwise, I'll smash you into meat paste right now. Yang Dingtian smiled faintly. He had long been mentally prepared for Wuxia's shamelessness. Valley Master, you're turning hostile too quickly. Yang Dingtian sneered. I've never been hypocritical. I've always been straightforward and shameless. Huaimo Sha said proudly. Now that this Naga's Xian veins is in my hands, do you still want to take it away? Yang Dingtian smiled and said, Valley Master, this Naga's Xian veins is in your hands. But it's useless? Huaimo Sha said angrily. What did you say? What trick do you want to play? I'll smash you to death. Because, you've melted this Naga's Xian veins, so you can't absorb its energy. Yang Dingtian said. I don't believe it. Huaimo Sha roared. Immediately, he activated his Xian Qi. In an instant his huge palm suddenly turned red. Yang Dingtian could clearly feel that the temperature was getting higher and higher. In the end, Huaimo Sha's palm was completely red and grabbed the devil's palm. Suddenly, the black iron devil's palm also turned red. Haha! Do you know how high the temperature of this black iron needs to be to turn red? You actually said that I can't melt the Xian veins, haha. Huaimo Sha laughed crazily. Yang Dingtian could see that this black iron needed about 5,000 degrees to melt. And this Huaimo Sha, with just his Xian Qi and heart fire, could increase the temperature to 5,000 degrees. It was really shocking. It could be seen that he was jealous of the extreme Yang's martial arts. Then, Huaimo Sha used his burning red palm to grab this purple Naga's Xian veins, trying to melt it. Yang Dingtian laughed inwardly. Really, the ignorant were fearless. With just his Xian Qi and heart fire, he couldn't even heat up the bloody black gold. He wanted to melt the Naga's Xian veins. What a dream! Ordinary Xian fire couldn't melt the purple Naga's Xian veins. Huaimo Sha tried his best, but this purple Naga's Xian veins were still cold, and didn't have any reaction. Ha! Huaimo Sha roared, and the flames on his body burned fiercely. Suddenly, the table and chair beside him couldn't withstand such a high temperature, and began to carbonize. And the black iron devil's staff in his other hand turned red. Huaimo Sha had reached his limit. However, this purple Naga's Xian veins were still cold. Finally Huaimo Sha gave up. He knew in his heart that he couldn't melt this Naga's Xian veins. Yang Dingtian, you have a way to melt this Naga's Xian veins? Huaimo Sha asked coldly, his eyes full of disdain and doubt. Of course. Yang Dingtian said. Dream on. Huaimo Sha sneered. What's my cultivation and what's your cultivation? I can't do it. You want to melt this Naga's Xian veins? You're dreaming. Of course I can do it. Yang Dingtian said. Because I have the Xian fire. What? Huaimo Sha was shocked. What? You have the Xian fire? No wonder Huaimo Sha had such a huge reaction. Because the Xian fire was almost every warrior's dream. Having the Xian fire almost meant the birth of a great grandmaster. Of course, Huaimo Sha didn't know about such a mysterious force like the Netherworld Sea. But in this world, Huaimo Sha could defeat anyone who had the Xian fire with one hand. Even in the northwest Qin city, such a powerful force, only Qin Wancho had the Xian fire. And as the number 2 expert of Qin city, Qin Wumian didn't have the Xian fire, even though he was an 8-star great grandmaster. So he couldn't break through to the great grandmaster level. And this kid in front of him actually said that he had the Xian fire. A 20-year-old kid actually said that he had the Xian fire. Even Dongfang Bingling didn't have the Xian fire. Kid, you're dreaming. Huaimo Sha laughed. If you have the Xian fire, I'll have the fucking sword soul and break through to the great grandmaster level. Huaimo Sha would rather die than believe that this kid had the Xian fire. Yang Dingtian didn't explain. His finger gently moved, and suddenly, a flame soared into the sky. It was bright red and incomparably beautiful. Huaimo Sha's eyes trembled. Then he sneered. How can you prove that this is the Xian fire? It's clearly an ordinary heart fire. Swoosh. Yang Dingtian lightly pointed. Immediately, the Xian fire turned into a light sword, shooting through Huaimo Sha's Xian iron wand. Silently, the Xian fire directly passed through the Xian iron wand, instantly burning a hole in the wand. That piece of Xian iron almost directly vaporized and disappeared. Huaimo Sha was shocked. Only the Xian fire could do this, instantly burning through his Xian iron wand. What kind of terrifying temperature was this? This kid in front of him indeed had the Xian fire. Immediately, Huaymo Sha's heart was filled with boundless jealousy and hatred. Why? Based on what? He was already 60 years old, and he was the master of the Storm Valley. Why couldn't he obtain the Xian fire? And this kid who was still wet behind his ears could actually obtain the Xian fire? Why? Instantly, Huaymo Sha's heart was filled with soaring killing intent. After a full few minutes, he suppressed the killing intent in his heart and said to Yang Dingtian with a smile, "How about we make a deal? You melt this inch of Naga's Xian vein, and I'll spare your life. Otherwise, I'll tear you into pieces." Yang Dingtian couldn't help but gasp in amazement at his shameless face. Yang Dingtian said coldly, "Let go of my mother-in-law. Let go of all the black blood cavalry. Let me take them away, and I'll help you melt Naga's Xian vein." "No, don't push your luck," Huaymo Sha shouted fiercely. "I can let you and all the black blood cavalry go, but I must have your mother-in-law." Yang Dingtian said coldly, "Let go of my mother-in-law, let go of the black blood cavalry, and I'll help you melt Naga's Xian vein. I'll smash you into minced meat right now," Huaymo Sha roared, and then smashed down with his Xian iron wand that was still completely red. Yang Dingtian stood there without moving, and only looked at Huaymo Sha coldly. This barbarian king naturally wouldn't kill Yang Dingtian. His demonic palm stopped an inch away from Yang Dingtian's head, and said coldly, "Okay, I promise you." "You swear?" Yang Dingtian said. "I swear, if Yang Dingtian helps me melt this section of Naga's Xian vein, I'll let go of Yang Peipei and all the black blood cavalry. If I go against my oath, I'll let my ancestors never rest in peace, and never be reincarnated." Huaymo Sha's eyes were filled with killing intent, and he shouted loudly to finish his oath. "Okay, our deal is a success," Yang Dingtian said. Then, Yang Dingtian stretched out his hand. Huaymo Sha said, "Melt it in my hands." Yang Dingtian sneered, and then summoned the Xian fire again, condensing it into a ball. Whoosh! The condensed million spirit demon fire suddenly drilled into that inch of Naga's Xian vein. Suddenly, this section of Naga's Xian vein burst out with incomparably bright light, illuminating the entire palace to the point that it was almost impossible to see anything. Huaymo Sha's eyes were filled with amazement and jealousy, and he looked at all of this with fanaticism. When the Naga's Xian vein reached its peak, it exploded with a loud bang. Suddenly, countless purple rays of light burst out, covering Huaymo Sha's entire body, fiercely spreading, almost bursting the entire palace. Quickly condense them, or I'll tear you to pieces," Huaymo Sha roared. Seeing countless Naga's Xian vein photons desperately escaping, his heart ached. These were all treasures of heaven and earth. He desperately swallowed these purple photons. After the purple Xian vein energy entered the Xian vein, it immediately started to take effect. Huaymo Sha felt his Xian vein start to heat up, starting to regenerate and reconstruct. This was real. This was the real Naga's Xian vein. It could really raise the grade of Xian vein. Although the process was incomparably painful, even more painful than cleansing the marrow and meridians, he could clearly feel his Xian vein start to improve and sublimate. This kind of pain, as a 9-star honorable martial artist, was still bearable. What made his heart ache was that countless purple Xian vein photons were crazily overflowing, and he could not swallow them no matter how hard he tried. Quickly think of a way to retrieve these Xian vein energy, or else I'll kill all of you, and rape your mother-in-law first before killing her. Huaymo Sha roared violently. "Don't be anxious." Yang Dingtian sneered in his heart, and summoned the darkness profound flame from his spatial ring, and then the million spirit demon fire. Immediately, countless purple Xian vein energy photons started to condense towards the profound flame. In a short few seconds, all of the escaping Xian vein energy photons flew back into the profound flame, turning into a purple ball of light. Although this purple ball of light was a little strange, and it even had a faint black color, making it look even more mysterious. But at this time, the fanatical Huaymo Sha already completely did not notice it. "My profound flame won't be able to last for too long," Yang Dingtian said indifferently. "So, you have to swallow this purple ball of light, and then reconstruct your Xian vein bit by bit. This process will be very, very painful. 10,000 times more painful than cleansing the marrow and meridians. Huaimosha nodded and shouted, "Elders, come and protect me." Immediately, 4 figures flew out from the shadows of the imperial palace. Every one of them was an honorable martial artist, and they sat around Huaimosha. "Remember, when this ball of light enters my mouth later, if I die, I will tear this young Dingtian into pieces." Huaimosha said. "Yes," the 4 honorable martial artists' elders said in unison. Huaimosha opened his mouth and said, "All right, release it." Yang Dingtian pushed his palm, and the purple ball of light suddenly drilled into Huaimosha's mouth. Then, Yang Dingtian withdrew the million-spirit demon fire and darkness profound flame, as quickly as possible. Boom! Countless purple Xian vein energy photons suddenly exploded in Huaimosha's body. Ha! A miserable howl sounded. Immediately, countless cracks appeared on Huaimosha's body, and blood spurted out. The 4 elders' expressions changed, and they wanted to smash young Dingtian to death. Huaimosha's body was distorted, and it was obvious that he was enduring hellish pain. Fortunately, he was a 9-star honorable martial artist, and he only had 1 inch of purple Naga Xian vein. If it was young Dingtian, he would not be able to withstand such a huge impact. Soon, Huaimosha desperately devoured the Xian vein energy. Countless Naga Xian vein factors slowly transformed Huaimosha's Xian vein. Gradually, Huaimosha's pain weakened. 10 minutes later, his body was no longer distorted, and he sat cross-legged on the ground, continuing to devour the Xian vein energy and transform his own Xian vein. Yang Dingtian said, "Lord Valley Master, you should have felt the energy of the purple Naga Xian vein by now. You should fulfill your promise. I will take my leave." Huaimosha did not open his eyes, and directly stretched out his hand and cut his neck. His intention was very obvious, and that was to kill young Dingtian. This person was really shameless, breaking the oath he made, and directly wanting to kill young Dingtian. The 4 honorable martial artists stood up, pulled out their sharp swords, and were about to kill young Dingtian. Young Dingtian was already prepared for this scene, and said with a cold smile, "Lord Valley Master, I forgot to tell you something. I actually have 1 inch of purple Naga Xian vein, which is enough for you to break through to the 8th grade. You can even break through to the 8th star honorable master." After that, young Dingtian took out another inch of purple Naga Xian vein from his spatial ring, and flashed. Huaimosha quickly waved his hand, stopping the 4 honorable martial artists from killing young Dingtian. "Of course, even if you snatch this purple Naga Xian vein now, it will be useless, because only I can use Xian fire to melt it." Yang Dingtian said, "In view of your shamelessness, I have decided to wait until you release my mother-in-law and everyone else. Then I will melt it and give it to you." Then, Yang Dingtian turned and walked out. "Then, I will take my leave now." After that, Yang Dingtian did not stay any longer, and directly left the imperial palace. Huaimosha's body trembled, and his heart was filled with murderous intent. He had already decided that he would not let young Dingtian leave alive. As for the other inch of purple Naga Xian vein, it was very simple. He would capture young Peipei and strip her naked. If young Dingtian did not melt it, and hand over that inch of purple Naga Xian vein, he would torture young Peipei to death. Without a doubt, young Dingtian would definitely compromise. "Idiot, you want to fight with me? I'll make you beg for death, but you can't die. After you melt the other inch of purple Naga Xian vein for me, I will ravage your mother-in-law again and again in front of you, and let you die in pain and humiliation." Huaimosha said fiercely. Then, he hurriedly swallowed the energy of this inch of purple Naga Xian vein, and continuously transformed his own Xian vein. Of course, what he did not know was that the world's most terrifying energy black hole had already seeped into his Xian vein. Not long after young Dingtian left the imperial palace, a woman came over and said, "Young master, the madams are ready, you should go immediately." Then, the maid led the way in front. Young Dingtian followed her to the east corner of the castle, inside a fragrant courtyard. "Madam, I'm here," young Dingtian said. At this time, there was no one in the courtyard. "Young master, come in. Let's make the show real." and let you see my unique ability." An incomparably charming voice came from inside. "Shameless woman." There was also a very shy and soft voice. "You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.